the Labour Party candidate. We're expecting him to address Chatham House today. What is your expectations? What are the expectations?
That seems to be his strength. If Tinubu is good at rallying human resources, Obi's strength will be in the area of giving those kind of very powerful, punchy speeches, backed with very relevant figures. I think it's going to be an interesting outing. A lot of people will listen very carefully. He's going to touch on some of the things he talks about all the time. His ideas, the big ideas he's got on how to revamp the economy. Of course, his own records too when he was governor. I'm sure he's going to touch on that. He's going to talk about the possibility of him, or the chances of him winning elections with his structure, the Obiani as they call them. The people on ground. He will talk about, of course, technology, how he's going to deploy that. I'm talking with that kind of audience. He's going to seek to talk about, I'm sure, the cooperation he will be needing from the international community, the global market, as he embark on, on his push to become president. So I'm sure it's a speech that a lot of people will watch, probably devoid of the dramas of, the other outings that we've had in the past in the same platform.
All right, thank you so much, Emmanuel Bello. That's the press preview. Let's hear your views on all the burning issues. Follow us on Arise on Twitter at Arise TV. You can join today's conversation using the hashtag Arise Daybreak. That's it for today. Up next, it's the morning show. It's a full day ahead and every moment matters. I'm Kikchi Nana.
I'm Kenneth Wume. Good morning.
Yesterday, I got a call from Globe. I won a 3-bedroom bungalow.
Yes, guys! Guess what? I won a car. I won a generator by participating in the Festival of Joy promo by Glow.
Hey, don't do this one for me. To make it baby. Sewing machine.
I won generator last year. This year I won for
It's a celebration like no other, with prizes like no other. 20 new houses to be won. 24 brand new cars. 200 sewing machines. 100 generators. 1,000 rechargeable fans. Glow Festival of Joy promo. Dial *611# now.
A peak protein breakfast gets you up to a great day. How do I know? Because my daddy goes through his work feeling good and always with a smile. Mommy is always filled with confidence. My sister is always in tune. And for me, learning new things becomes absolute fun. Because all day and every day, the peak goes on.
Start your day with a Peak Protein Breakfast. Peak. Reach for your peak.
Getting together for the first time in years was a little bit awkward. Grandpa still tried to entertain us. Mom was always still in the spotlight from the kids. It wasn't until Grandma cracked a joke
That's my favorite prayer.
that we got back into our groove. In this festive, DSTV is making family time even better with an upgrade.
Stay connected to DSTV and we'll upgrade you to the next package for free.
One planet, our world.
200 countries, 500 cities of over 1 million.
8 billion people with your own story every day, every news day. We make sense of all the noise because you need to know what's important for you, your family, your business, and how it affects your story. Breaking news, the top stories,
all the sports updates as they come in,
and the very latest entertainment news from Nigeria and the world. Our stories are your story.
From our headquarters in Lagos, Arise Newsday for 3 hours every day.
Make every day a news day.
the heart of the business world in Lagos, the commercial capital of Africa's largest economy.
These aren't just numbers. They represent our nation's sharpest minds, our most successful investors, our most inspiring bosses. In Nigeria, business is in our DNA. From micro-business to startups to world-conquering brands. Every success story has something in common. They all started somewhere. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Global Business Report gets to the heart of business. We bring you the stories making headlines across the globe with in-depth analysis from experts and executives.
This is not business as usual. This is the Global Business Report.
Good morning. You're watching the morning show here on Arise News. I am Kayode.
And I'm Ayo Myra Essay. We've got a great show lined up for you over the next 3 hours. So sit back, relax, and let's kickstart your day because the morning show begins right now.
With the 2023 presidential election about 41 days away, we've witnessed party campaigns like no other in our country's history. For the first time, the race for the #1 seat in Nigerian politics is not between two political parties as we've been accustomed to in the past. We've seen massive rallies held across the country from the top 4 candidates vying for the presidency. Today on the show, we will be assessing the candidacy of 2 presidential hopefuls in the race. We will be taking a look at the chances of the People's Democratic Party's presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, and the ruling All Progressives Congress, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Joining us later on this show, the morning show today, to discuss Atiku's plan for the country and the PDP's campaign activities so far, is Bukola Saraki, former Senate President. Moving things along, we shall be engaging Festus Keyamo, spokesperson for the Tinubu-Shetima Presidential Campaign Council. We will be discussing the campaign activities of Bola Ahmed Tinubu and how he intends to fix the issues plaguing the country.
We'll also catch up on news making headlines across the globe. Michael Wilson will give us updates on global business outlook, while Rotu Sodiri will update us activities from the World Economic Forum taking place in Davos, Switzerland. Aaron Akirajola will be taking us through sporting activities across the globe. We will also review today's newspapers with Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni, while Ojiope will fill us in on what's trending around the world. It's going to be all that and a whole lot more today on The Morning Show. Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. It's now time to take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. January 15 every year is set aside to commemorate the Armed Forces Remembrance Day in Nigeria. It's a day for the government and people to pay tribute to their fallen heroes and heroines who paid the supreme sacrifice at various theaters of war and to those who continue to serve to protect the country. In Abuja, President Muhammadu Buhari led other top dignitaries in the laying of wreaths at the cenotaph of the unknown soldier and the release of white pigeons signifying peace. This is his last attendance as Nigeria's president. State House correspondent Adesua Omoran reports.
Colorful yet solemn. Military parade on a day to honor brave men and women who have served to protect Nigeria and those who have paid the supreme sacrifice in the line of duty. Dignitaries and service chiefs arrive in hierarchical order to the National Arcade in commemoration of the annual Armed Forces Remembrance Day. President Buhari is the last to arrive at the venue. It's Buhari's last attendance of the Armed Forces Remembrance Day as Nigeria's president and commander-in-chief of Nigeria's armed forces. He takes the salute and inspects the guard of honor. The president then leads other top dignitaries, including the vice president, leaders of the National Assembly, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, and service chiefs, among others, to lay wreaths at the tomb of the unknown soldier. As a mark of last respect to the fallen heroes who paid the supreme price to keep global peace and safeguard the nation's territorial integrity, volleys of shots are fired to salute their courage. A minute of silence was also observed, after which President Buhari signed the register. He also set free doves to connote peace, a commodity the nation earnestly desires to sustain its democratic journey, one reiterated by praying clerics.
Lord, we pray that at this time when Nigerians are preparing to go back to the polls to elect their leaders, let there be peace and let there be smooth transition to the new government.
Oh Allah, we beseech you to bless our country, Nigeria. Grant her peace, security, and prosperity. Guide and guard our leaders. Grant our soldiers victory over our avowed enemies.
Speaking on the sidelines, the Chief of Defense Staff assures the voting public of a safe election next month, while reiterating the armed forces' support for civil rule.
Government of the people, by the people, and for the people in Nigeria has come to stay. That is an assurance. And then, of course, for the elections, I'm sure you know that the police is in the lead. I have been discussing with the IG, and of course we have also made contingencies should we be required to give support to the police as the election is conducted. I think for Nigerians, you are well rest assured that the armed forces remain solidly behind the police to be able to give them all the support that is required.
The widow of one Air Office personnel who died in active service is appealing for a quicker facilitation of benefits and support for families of fallen heroes, as many of their dependents are languishing in poverty after losing their breadwinners.
It has started taking a longer time to compensate the family. Before it would take a shorter while, but now it takes a longer while. So families have to wait, keep waiting or keep calling or try to cross the line. But if it's possible to, mine didn't take time, thankfully, but I've seen others in this situation and they've been complaining that it's taking a very long period. Mine was between a month or two, but some is stretching to 9, going to a year now, which is really not telling good on them. But I feel everybody is trying their best to do what they can do. Hopefully, they get to settle people.
The Armed Forces Remembrance Day also marks the formal end of the Nigerian Civil War, which came to an end on January 15, 1970, with the surrender by the separatist Biafran army leaders. The day, which reflects the peculiar experience as a nation for Nigeria, not only commemorates the end of the Nigerian Civil War, but also serves as a reminder to all Nigerians to guard jealously the integrity, the peace, and the unity of the country as we once again file out to a general election next month. From the National Arcade, venue of the 2023 Armed Forces Remembrance Day, Adesua Omoruan, reporting for Arise News.
Oh, thank you very much, Adesua, for that report. Mr. K, it was so good to see the solemn, yet, as was described in that report, colorful Remembrance Day, Nigerian Remembrance Day. What's your take on this?
Well, I guess this is worth remembering because these are the heroes of our nation. These are the people that have done well for Nigeria. They have laid down their lives so that we may all have peace and we may have safety in this country. They are the ones that have made it possible for us to enjoy the level of peace that we have in the country at the moment. And I do recall that 2021, I think, when General Irabor was made the Chief of Defense Staff, I met with him, and one of the things we talked about is what's going to be the focus of the Army going forward. And I remember that he said he wants the Army to become very professional. He wants the Army to be as professional as possible so that their focus is not political appointment. Their focus is not anything else other than guaranteeing the territorial integrity of the nation. And I think they're working on that as aggressively as possible. So it's good to see him saying that our democracy is secured because of the kind of training that they're giving the Army. And we're hoping and praying that the political leaders will take example from that and will just put in all the money that is necessary, all the financing that is necessary to give the training and the ammunition that the Nigerian Army and the Nigerian Armed Forces will require so that they can do better for us.
Thank you very much. Let me just talk about the history, because some people might have seen us wear the poppy, and I wore it deliberately today, even though by yesterday, people had stopped wearing it. Just the significance. I recall someone saying to me that, oh, is it because you said wearing it over Christmas? Or was it because of Christmas, the color red? So it demonstrates that a number of people do not understand the significance. Now, Armed Forces Remembrance Day worldwide is celebrated on the 11th of November, marking the end of the First World War. However, Nigeria adopted, following the end of the Biafran War in 1970, the date January 15 in commemoration, like you mentioned, of peace, just honoring, number one, the soldiers who have fallen. It's also to honor servicemen who are still alive. They're called veterans. And also to, like you said, have it as an opportunity to remember that the peace that we enjoy today was paid with a heavy sum by some people, the ultimate price. Especially at this point in our nation where we still have some servicemen paying the ultimate price in warring regions like the Northeast and other areas, and to remember them and to give them the honor that's due. And then hence you would see why when it comes to the Armed Forces Remembrance Day and the laying, the symbolic, very symbolic laying of the wreath, we have the president leading that procession, also reviewing the guards, the March of the Guards. And across states, because it's celebrated at federal, state, and local levels, you'd see that the governor of the state is leading the honor of these men. And then also, just to mention and just to point out to what the widow of leader Victor Uba, who was killed in an ambush during a joint operation in Kebbi State on July 7, 2021, said about the welfare of the widows and families left behind by these soldiers. We cannot claim to honor them if we do not look after those that they have left, because usually the victims, or perhaps people who suffer the most when they lose their lives, are their immediate family members. And the greatest honor that Nigeria can pay to them is to ensure that those that they've left behind are well looked after. Oftentimes, when you speak to a number of servicemen and who are going to war, they are concerned about the family members they could potentially leave behind. And so it's important that they face that. And then to what the presidential candidate of the Labour Party said, Mr. Peter Obi, that we have to accept the fact that the war has ended. I thought that was a very powerful statement to make, particularly along the fragile lines of ethnic divisions in today's Nigeria, that the war has ended. May we look forward, honor the dead, and also begin to build the peace and unity in Nigeria.
Yes, and God help us.
Yes,
God help
amen.
us.
Well, that's all on the news headlines. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll have Michael Wilson to give us updates on global business activities. Stay with us.
I've been running my business on my own. Try my best to get it to the next level, but I really need some help to get ahead. I know just what to do, I'll vote it for my loans. Overdraft. Step by step to my dream business, we vote. Salary earners, entrepreneurs, get your loans with no collateral. Quick sign up, zero paperwork. Step by step to your dream business, we vote.
Vault is available to individuals, SMEs, and corporate customers. Download Vault by Polaris Bank from the Google Play Store or Apple App Store to get started today.
Yesterday I got a call from Globe. I won a 3-bedroom bungalow.
Yes, guys! Guess what? I won a car. I won a generator by participating in the Festival of Joy promo by Glow.
Hey, Glow don't do this one for me. Glow to make it to me with sewing machine.
I won generator last year. This year I won for
It's a celebration like no other with prizes like no other. 20 new houses to be won. 24 brand new cars. 200 sewing machines, 100 generators, 1,000 rechargeable fans. Glow Festival of Joy promo. Dial *611# now.
Welcome back to the morning show here on the Rise News. For Global Business Update, Michael Wilson joins us now from Cape Town, South Africa. Good morning, Michael.
Morning. A bit of optimism, really, around this morning at the beginning of the week. Cooling inflation in the United States as witnessed last week. So basically, stocks fairly mixed in Asia Pacific. The Nikkei is down 1%. The Hong Kong Hang Seng is up marginally, and the Shenzhen in China is up 2%, so a lot of variation. And of course, yesterday we saw the opening of the high-speed rail link between Hong Kong and China, which is helping things as well. So generally, a feeling of optimism. The US markets closed today because of the Martin Luther King holiday. However, let me take you to Wall Street whilst they are on holiday and look at some of the kinds of stocks that people are looking forward to in 2023. And the selection of it will surprise, I know, a lot of you. Alphabet, for example, Google's parents. Google is seen as the front runner in every major tech group at the moment. Him and Hers, they're a telehealth company. Again, healthcare is being seen as a major kind of factor. And also Orthopediatrics Corp, which is, as its name suggests, it majors in orthopedics, but mainly in children. So that's felt to be quite a good thing. And also Chef's Warehouse, a food distributor to high-end restaurants. Again, I think we've noted before, haven't we, as this year is still very, very young indeed, but still the majority of the spending this year felt to me amongst high-income earners, and certainly those sorts of stocks are the things that Wall Street is now is concentrating on. I'm not to say there aren't considerable headwinds still to come. Tesla price cuts, we mentioned those last week. We're seeing that these as the first recession test, really, of the electric vehicle industry. There may be others, like NVIDIA, for example, that can't handle these kind of cuts, but maybe Tesla can. But it will be seeing its total revenue falling by about 25% as a result of that. So quite testing times, and really jury's out as to how these very, very highly leveraged startups will actually survive during which is obviously a difficult year. The US has been stockpiling natural gas. I mention this because even though we've had pictures of a terrible winter in the United States, overall, a relatively warm winter has cut demand, and futures prices have been tumbling. For the first time, the US is in the position of net storage of natural gas, 11 billion cubic feet of it back underground into storage. It's the first time that's ever happened in its history. We shouldn't forget Davos, which is getting together literally in the flesh for the first time in a long time, in 2 years at least. And the only G7 leader so far is Germany's Olaf Scholz, there he is, and the rest of them are staying at home to deal with domestic cost of living problems and so on. The title this year is Cooperation in a Fragmented World, and Henry Kissinger is amongst the guests, as is Cyril Ramaphosa from South Africa. But they will see the biggest threats to world growth as the cost of living crisis, as an energy and food scarcity. Sweden, here's a big find here of rare earth metals. The find there could be as important as oil and natural gas. The rare earth oxides have been found there. Now, these are vital components for EVs, electrical vehicles, and turbines. 99% at the moment come from China. The company is LKAB, which is a state-owned energy company of Sweden. But it could be this discovery could be more important than wherever oil and gas is going in the future. They're important for them. The UK, again, I'm going to remind you of some figures last week. The economy actually grew very, very slightly in November. We'll get more figures about that as the week goes. But it isn't to say that there aren't, again, considerable problems for the UK economy coming up, cost of living crisis and so on. And oil and gas, probably, domestic bills will probably remain high for quite some time. There's light at the end of the tunnel as far as the UK rail strikes are concerned. An improved payoff has come in from Mark Harper, who's the Transport Secretary, 4% for 2022, 4% this year, and the government has, as they put it, rowed back, horrible phrase that, isn't it, but they could have retreated very, very slightly from their insistence that more and more trains are driver-only operated. Should be noted that 55% actually are already. Whether this actually just merely stores up problems for the future as far as the rail industry remains to be seen. And here's finally a prediction for you as far as Bitcoin is concerned. We've been talking about how it's got to traditional lows. Well, it could come back in favor as inflation falls off very, very slightly. We could be looking, says one particular analyst, at $100,000 per Bitcoin in 3 years' time. Portion in 2023, but a bull market in 2024. I should remind you that the whole market lost 1.4 trillion this year. So as far as I'm concerned, it's still a bet. But then again, it's a bet.
Mark, good morning. Good to see you on the show this morning. The first thing I was listening to all the stories making the rounds, and the one that tops my mind is back home for you in England. Is it becoming gradually a winter of discontent with the rail workers, dropping their work tools and saying they're not going to go to work? And there are others who have shown signs that they're going on strike as well.
Yeah, I think whether or not, I'm not exactly sure what the public feels about the rail strikes at the moment. They're not getting as much sympathy as the nurses on strike, particularly. And as I was saying, it may be that the government is backtracking very, very slightly, and maybe it could be that they actually come to some sort of agreement in the next few days. But generally speaking, train drivers earn well above the median wage in the UK, and I feel as though, given that more people are working from home, the rail industry may not regather some of the commuter numbers that it has lost out to the way in which work is going post-pandemic. I think that's a big danger for them. So I don't think they're getting the kind of public sympathy that the nurses are getting at the moment, but we may see some developments as time goes on, maybe over the next few days.
There's some concern that this could actually affect the economy, because if the nurses are downing tools and the rail workers are downing tools, I happen to have friends and family in the UK, and the response, the feedback I'm getting is that things are looking really, really bad for the beginning of the year in terms of the economy.
Yeah, the cost I most recently heard put on the economy is 0.25%, i.e. 0.25% of GDP, which is quite considerable. That's taking everything into account, as well as the trains, the NHS, public services, border guards, and so on. Yes, it's looking to be a very, very tough year. But I think the government are digging in and saying, look, we have to control inflation first of all. Once we've done that, then we can start thinking about maybe meeting around the table. But a lot of the demands that particularly the public services are asking are seen as unrealistic. And remember, yes, public servants, civil servants, whatever you care to call them, do get paid slightly less than those in the private sector. But when they retire, they have inflation-linked and inflation-protected pensions, which, of course, the majority of people in the private sector don't have and have to fund those themselves. So it works in a lot of ways. I don't think we've seen the end of these strikes, but nor do I feel as though we've seen the end of the discussion about them either.
Well, two things, Michael. The first thing is, you're talking about the rail strikes and its effect on workers, particularly post-pandemic realities of workers. I'd like to ask you, recall last week we talked about Disney saying that the staff members were going to come back into work physically 4 days per week. We also have looked at Twitter asking staff members to come back to work. And we had talked about the fact that some employers are concerned about productivity and working from home. So do you think that in the UK, perhaps they will be looking to returning to pre-pandemic in terms of the number of days they're working? And of course, beyond workers being affected by rail strikes, we also look at the day-to-day activities of UK citizens and how this has disrupted very significantly the activities. And also, do you think that since the rail workers are coming to some sort of agreement, they would also be discussing with other striking unions? You already talked about the nurses, the emergency services, and the likes. And then the second part of my question is on Tesla. So Tesla responding to competition last year, their lowest downturn in sales in China for about 5 years. And now they're looking to bring down the cost of Model 3 and Model Y cars in China by 6% and 13.5% respectively. Do you think that this will make a significant impact? I mean, a number of things, glad that Teslas will be hopefully more affordable and available for use. Your take on this, please.
I think the big thing about Tesla right now is the way that they are responding to the fact that their vehicles are too expensive, and they're also responding to the lack of consumer demand. It doesn't matter where it is, whether it be in China, Europe, the UK, or the United States. And what they're doing is they're saying that they're going to cut costs. Now, the real question is, if they do that, then what will their competition do? And can their competition survive? Because whatever problems Tesla is having, it is cash rich at the moment, and its production has overtaken demand. So it's in a very healthy position right now, should it wish to cut prices. And we're seeing that it is going to do that. Perhaps just as important is the fact that Joe Biden has bet a lot of his this so-called Inflation Reduction Bill on government subsidies going towards electric vehicles. So it's in everybody's interest that Tesla actually manages to weather this. Now, whether it will is a different kind of thing. But I think that is the major question. It's how the price cuts that Tesla is actually doing are going to affect the rest of the EV industry. As far as most countries are concerned, again, the complaint normally about electric vehicles is all well and good, but where do I plug it in? And until it's as easy as going to a gas station, I think that the jury is out as to how quickly the rollout of electric vehicles will actually happen. As far as the UK strikes are concerned, I don't think, unless it's under the aegis of the Trades Union at Congress, the TUC, that whatever happens in the rail industry will affect the NHS. If I were the NHS negotiators, I would not let it affect the way I were negotiating. Who knows whether it will? But it looks as though, what they may get some comfort from is the fact that the government is slightly backtracking on the demands on its dug-in position, if you like, against the rail strike. So again, all to play for, and I suspect there'll be a lot of discussion about this over the next few days.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Michael. We'll see you tomorrow for the Global Business Update. It's day one of the World Economic Forum taking place in Davos, Switzerland. Leaders from around the world have flown in for the annual summit. Arise business correspondent Rota Sodiri is there. He has a roundup of what to expect this week.
We are in snowy Switzerland for Davos 2023, the 53rd annual forum of the World Economic Forum, where a number of issues are going to be discussed, chief of which, are we heading for a global recession? This particular World Economic Forum comes at a crucial time where it is being predicted that a global recession is on its way. The International Monetary Fund, the World Bank have slashed growth projections, economic growth projections for pretty much every region around the world. There's about 2,700 leaders that will be converging on Davos this year. 370 of them will be world leaders. About 190 of them will be business leaders. Actually, 1,500 of them are expected to be business leaders, 90 of them innovators, about 19 central bank governors, trade ministers. A whole lot is going to be discussed. Trade, for instance, the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, is going to be talking about trade here. You've got Christine Lagarde, the central bank, the chief president of the European Central Bank, talking about interest rates. There's going to be a whole lot. Climate is very, very much at the top of the ladder right now for the World Economic Forum. You've got Africa and its needs as far as debt is concerned. The Minister of Finance for South Africa, Mr. Godongwana, is going to be here with a delegation trying to get investment. The Minister of Finance for Nigeria, Zainab Ahmed, she is here as well. So a lot on the table to be discussed. You can trust that Arise TV will bring you every bit of insight and analysis from this very crucial World Economic Forum, Davos 2023. Rhoda Sodiri, Arise News.
Well, thank you very much, Rotus. We look forward to getting more updates on Davos as they start today for the rest of the week. We'll take a short break now, and when we return, we shall be talking to Bukola Saraki, former Senate President of Nigeria. Stay with us.
As you adjust to the new realities for operating your business and engaging with your customers, let us help you transform your business into a digital powerhouse capable of adapting and taking advantage of today's opportunities. With our best-in-class array of digital solutions, you can conduct your business, receive payments from your customers, and perform transactions quickly, safely, and conveniently, because we've got you covered with the right people, technology, and service offerings. Contact us today and let us take your business to its zenith. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
I'm about to serve better breakfast.
If you're in Lagos, you need to see this.
I'm not just streaming content, I'm just escaping traffic.
Get more data to enjoy exclusive content. Dial *141# now.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
My brother, my sister, do you know that winning an election is not only about getting the majority vote? For that your candidate to be declared winner of the election, he or she must secure 25% of the vote in 2/3 of all states, plus the FCT to be president, and 25% of the vote in 2/3 of all local governments of a state to be governor. This is constitutional, and every presidential candidate has had to pass this threshold. Even governors have had to make this mark to get elected in their states. We live in one country with different languages, religions, and ethnic groups. This is why it is not enough to have only northern votes, or southern votes, or eastern votes, or western votes. The only way to get elected as president or governor is by gaining enough support across the country and states. Let us make sure that we know now so that we don't cause an issue tomorrow.
This message is brought to you by the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, with support from the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, FCDO.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Judging by the political campaigns held across Nigeria, the 2023 general election is not going to be business as usual. Presidential candidates of the top 4 parties have been combing every corner of the country to convince the electorate of their plans for the country. The presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has made a number of promises he intends to fulfill if voted to power in the next presidential election. The most recent being the full revival of the iron and steel company in Ajaokuta, Kogi State, to create jobs for teeming young Nigerians. Atiku said that a vote for him is a solution to the challenges bedeviling Nigeria. But this isn't the first time Nigerians have heard such promise. The question is, what makes Atiku Abubakar different or the best man for the job? Joining us on the show this morning to discuss Atiku's chances at the coming presidential election, how he intends to tackle the pressing issues in Nigeria, and the party's campaign so far, is Dr. Bukola Saraki, former Senate President of Nigeria. Welcome to the morning show. So good to see you.
So good to see you.
I'm looking at you and I'm like, you're looking so well and so young, so charming.
So you, such a long time.
It's
good to see
been a
you.
while.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, the morning show.
Thank you.
So the first thing I would want to ask, I've been monitoring the election in the last few months, the campaign rather, in the last few months, and I've listened to quite a few pundits, and I've also listened to some political analysts, and they're saying that the top three candidates, not four now, top three candidates is Atiku Abubakar, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, and Peter Obi. Some people have said that Peter Obi is definitely going to win. Others said, no way. But let me ask you, you've been in politics in Nigeria for quite a while, and you've done well for yourself in terms of the work that you have done. So let me ask you this. What is the path to success for your candidates, Waziri Adamawa, who is the presidential candidate of PDP? How do you see him winning the election? What will be the path?
Okay, first of all, I strongly believe that the 2023 election is a referendum on the performance of APC government and party. And I believe that a country like ours, a very progressive country, a lot of progressive individuals, will never reward failure. The question that Nigerians must ask is, has this government and the party failed or done well in the last 7 years plus? And let's take the indices one by one, because I want to steer on issues and move away on sentiments. In 2015, the promise to Nigerians was that we would fight insecurity, we would improve the economy, we would create jobs for the youth. Those were the major issues. In 2015, you can remember very clearly, the insecurity issues in this country was limited to the Northeast. Since then to today, we've seen insecurity in the Northwest. Farmers cannot go to their farm. People are being killed, kidnapped. We've seen herdsmen, farmers clash in the North Central. We've seen the highest level of oil theft in the South. We've seen kidnapping. So on issue of security, they have not performed, they have failed. Let's take the economy. And again, I'm going to take them one by one. And I will challenge you because we are all well knowledgeable on all these issues. Let's take inflation. Where the inflation level is today, it's about 16%. It was never like that in time of PDP in single digits. We have the highest number of Nigerians below the poverty line, 133 million. It was not like that. Unemployment on that PDP was again about 6-7%. Today it's 33%. Youth probably about 54%. Foreign direct investment, if we're lucky, maybe just about 2 billion compared to 8-9 billion. These are facts we cannot run away from. On the economy as well, exchange rate, 200 naira, official at 125, black power market to 230. Today, official 415, something like that. Black market 735. Never been like this. These are facts. When you take all these issues, they have failed. And as they have failed, as a political party, we cannot reward failure. So I don't even think that the race should be about APC. They've had an opportunity to make Nigerians' lives better, but they have not. The question now goes, as you've all asked, who next? Some will say, oh, do we want to go back to PDP? Let's talk about that back to PDP, the PDP days. In the PDP days, as I said, we had insecurity just limited to one part of the country. In the PDP days we're talking about, we had GDP growth of about 6, 7, 8%. Now we're seeing GDP growth probably 2%, less than population growth. In the PDP days we're talking about, we had foreign direct investment into this country, enrolling about $8 billion. Largest economy in Africa. These are the PDP days. Exchange rate was not 700, inch it to 1,000 at a time. These are the PDP days. PDP days, the country was more united. Now, it is normal in democratic settings that the populace has a choice to say, you know, sometimes you get tired of a party and you say, oh, I'm going to try another party. But when the party has failed, you come back to those what they call the good days. And that is what PDP offers under Atiku Abubakar. When you talk about the other parties, with great respect to them, to the individuals, particularly Peter. But again, don't forget that what we run in Nigeria, we run a presidential system. When you go to that ballot box on the day of election, you're voting for party. You don't see Peter, you see a party. Now, a party where from day one, you don't have candidates in all the parliamentary seats. So already from day one, there's recipe for disaster because you know that the executive and the legislature are not going to have a majority. And a lot of people, when you ask them, what is their concern now? They tell you restructuring. These are things that need constitutional review. These are things that need you also to have a majority in the National Assembly. Investors are no longer satisfied with executive orders. They want to see legislation to support investment. So if you're a party, a small party, that you don't even have the spread, because we've seen the experience in 2015, let's move away from intention to reality and practicality. The practicality why APC has failed, because APC really was a special vehicle party to win election, not a party that was built with cohesion. And so a small party does not have the spread across the country, even if it has a president and doesn't have parliament from day one, we're not going to see what Nigerians want to see. The laws that will change the constitution, the laws that will restructure, make the country more efficient. Now that takes me back again to Atiku Abubakar. In Atiku Abubakar, you have a candidate that is ready from day one to run. And you say, what do I mean by that? The experience he has is even at a federal level, not subnational. All the other two candidates, great respect to them, have been at best governors at subnational level. I've been a governor as well. But I will tell you from my experience as governor was 8 years, and my experience as president of the Senate, presiding over Nigerians from different parts of the country, different languages, different religion, different culture, is totally different. That experience, you don't gain it as subnational because you're a governor. Because when you're a governor, it is not multi-ethnicity.
Okay, very quickly,
yes.
Let's just stream it down. In terms of your path to success, I'm still waiting to get an answer to that so that we can move to other issues. Some people have said that for anybody to win election, they must get a certain percentage in a certain number of states.
Yes.
Do you think that PDP has done enough? If election was to happen today,
we'll get the spread. Yeah, of course. We will
so what will be your path? Where do you think PDP is so strong and your candidate is so strong, he will get the results required? Southwest, for example. Some people said it's not going to happen because they said APC owns Southwest. The Southeast, they said Labour Party will take it because of Peter Obi. The North, there's going to be a competition between Shettima and Atiku. So where is your path?
Very simple. The PDP, again, as a party, with the kind of candidature we have by Atiku Abubakar, we will easily get our 25% constitutional requirement across the country. If you do any polling, any discussions, you will find out we're either coming first or we're coming second in most of the states that we're doing. South-South has always been a strong PDP area. We will do very well in South-South. South is the challenge we have there, of course, is Labour, but we will still do well in Southeast and take our 25%. Right? We will do well in North Central. We will do well in Northwest and Northeast. You need 4 zones. By the time you have 4 zones, you win the election.
So your 4 zones will be?
Will be our 4 zones that will win. We'll win Northwest, we'll win Northeast, we'll win South-South, we'll win North Central.
Right.
Those are the 4 zones, and we'll take our 25% in more than 24 states. There's no doubt about that in my mind that we'll get there.
Thank you for your review of your chances at the polls come February 25, based on perhaps your campaign activities and what you suppose are the strongholds that PDP has in these states. But I'd like you to speak to some of the things that you've talked about with regards to the failure of the APC government in terms of handling security, the economy, and why you believe that the PDP coming in would create that difference. The first thing is that you were elected under the APC, under the umbrella of the APC in 2015, and you served as Senate President during that time. I'd like you to share with us, some of the things that was that one of the reasons why you left the APC, because they were not, in terms of their party ideology and how they handled the economy and how they handled security situation? That's one. And the second thing is, with regards to structure, the presidential candidate of the APC, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, had spoken to structure as well, saying that, you vote a party with structure. But Mr. Peter Obi, whom you referred to, said that it's the structure we're trying to do away with. We're trying to do away with the structure of entitlement, impunity. I mean, aside the political structure he was referring to, I know you're talking about numbers and being able to have his people in the house so that you can pass laws. But he's also saying that it is an opportunity for Nigerians to do away with the old and come in with the new. I'd like to take you...
Okay, can I start? Yes, you can do away with coming with the new, but it has to be comprehensive. In France, when Macron came in, Macron came in, he was not part of the structure. But the movement there was not just on the executive. The country voted for even parliamentary candidates of that party. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong in that. What I'm saying from what you've seen, the party itself started, April, May? These kind of movements should have started much earlier, where it's not just the presidential. That's the point I'm making, that it must also be a House of Assembly, National Assembly, where a party from day one does not have candidates filling all the positions in National Assembly. It's already a problem. That's the point I'm making. I'm not saying that I'm not talking about structure in that sense. I'm talking about, so from day one, based on my experience, and I'm sure you've seen it, it means that that government will not be functional, because definitely will not have that support to be able to drive, because all this is for what? Is to drive those changes. So when you are promising as a presidential candidate, when I get there, I will make sure that the states have powers, I'll make sure that this will happen. It can only happen if you have that support. So that's the point I'm making there. Let me go back to, you talked about, you remind me.
I've spoken about the APC government in terms of...
Yes. Well, as you can see, you all know the history, that apartheid ways, yes, I've said that we're one of those that came and sold the APC to Nigerians. But I realized very early on that we're not going to deliver on the promises made. And this was not what we promised Nigerians. We had promised Nigerians, as I said, we'll bring employment, we'll fight the issue of insecurity, we'll ensure there's investment, we'll create an environment for investment, and this did not happen. And as such, there was no way in my conscience to continue to stay in that party. I say it many times, even those who are in that party cannot tell Nigerians that they have performed, because the indices there. I argue any of those things I've said this morning, if anybody can fault them, for as long as you cannot fault those things I have said, that party has failed. And if it has failed, are we going to reward failure? I don't think. In our lives, we don't reward failures. In our homes, we don't reward failure. In our offices, we don't reward failure. They have failed. Same way in 2015, when Nigerians felt PDP had failed, they voted for another party. So I am saying that no matter the propaganda, no matter all the slogan, no matter all that, we must go back to content. Have they performed? If they have failed, then the agenda or the discussion we should be holding now for the next 4 weeks is, where do we go as Nigerians? Do we go to any of these smaller parties who are offering a dream or their own vision? Or do we go to safe hands? I'm saying that Atiku Abubakar is a safe hand today. And because of the precarious position this country is, we cannot afford an experiment again as 2015.
Just to fact check,
go ahead.
Just to fact check, the
Go
Labour
ahead.
Party was actually founded in 2002 as the Party for Social Democracy and turned to the Labour Party in 2006 because they said last year. And they've actually
I'm saying the movement of Peter Obi
okay. All right, just to clarify.
I'm not the movement of
because
Peter Obi.
Because they produced the governor, Mr. Olusegun Mimiko.
No, I'm talking about for this election.
All right, okay.
The point I'm saying for this election, all the movement started when he moved into. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying that as a party, that movement of Labour Party, candidates for all the positions, it's not there. So it would be very, very dangerous from the practical point of view, having a president from a party with a parliament that this party does not control. We will have achieved this, but at the same time, we will not deliver on those promises that they made. I'm speaking as somebody who has presided over the National Assembly, and I know what it takes to make the country move forward, because some of the things we need to do need legislation.
Yeah, I had, just to continue on that path, I had conversation with quite a few people across different political parties, and they said that politicians have a penchant for jumping ship when they think things are not going right, that what they should be doing is what happens in other climes, stay within the boat and try and create the change. A typical example that was given is that Ashwaju has decided that in spite of whatever might have been the errors of the current Buhari administration, he's going to stay there and contest with a view to change whatever has gone wrong. Why don't you do the same? Why wouldn't you stay with APC and be part of the change within that would ensure that APC perform or delivers on its promise?
That was a question of 4 or 5 years ago.
Yes, no, I'm saying that why don't you think that the likes of Ashwaji should have a chance to create the change?
I'm not saying they shouldn't.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that the point is that the party has failed. Now, yes, he's asking for an opportunity to be given a chance to repair. He says, I will continue where Buhari has left it. That is what he's saying to Nigerians. I'm saying what Nigerians has been through, the pain, the hardship, this is not the time to go through that. Nigerians are looking for a better time. They're looking for a much fruitful future. So it's a choice they have to make. So I'm not saying, what I'm saying is that as Nigerians, we should ask ourselves that this party has failed. Yes, the candidate is saying that, don't worry, I will improve on the failures, I'll make it better. But there are other options for Nigerians. Okay. The other option for Nigerians is go to that party. In their time, the economy was much better. The country was more secure. And the candidate...
Go back to that.
Pardon?
And we should go back to that.
Go back to that.
Okay, but while you're thinking along that line, some Nigerians are wondering, you are a Nigerian, you come from the North Central, and the question that is being asked is, this being almost 8 years, 7 years going to 8 years of a man who is Hausa Fulani. And then we're looking at the possibility of PDP giving us another Hausa Fulani man for another 4 years, possibly even 8 years. You from the North Central, that some people consider as Yoruba to a large extent, though you share heritage with both the Hausas and the Yorubas. Do you personally, and I'm talking to Dr. Bukola Saraki now, not a politician, as a Nigerian, Dr. Bukola Saraki, do you think it will be fair in terms of equity to have another Hausa Fulani as the next president of Nigeria? Do you think it is fair?
I think the issue is that what is fair is a better Nigeria. Now, if you look at the number of years where power has been between the North and the South since 1999, particularly under the present republic, there hasn't been that much difference. There's a difference of 4 years that still needs to run to the North to balance. So there's no large discrimination to one side. But what is fair now, in my view, when I sit down, I talk to Nigerians, is a better life. Atiku Abubakar will provide that better life. Unfortunately, the reason why we've got to where we've got to, where ethnicity and religion has become so paramount, is again part of the failure of APC. Atiku Abubakar does not belong to that. Here is a man who, if you look at his career, he's lived in the North, he's lived in the South. He's surrounded by people from across the country. His focus will be pan-Nigerian. He's always been like that. And another issue against other candidates who have played regional politics mostly. He's always played Nigeria first. So what is fair is, would we get a better Nigeria? I think we'll get a better Nigeria with Atiku because he will be transparent. You will not have the lopsided appointment. What has raised the issues like this? That people like yourself are saying, is it fair? It's because what we've seen the APC party do in appointments. You do appointment disregards to certain part of the country. You do take certain action as if certain part of the country do not matter. That is what has aggravated why Nigerians feel like this. Right. But more important than that is, who will make Nigeria better? Who will unite this country? Who has friends across the country?
Irrespective of their tribe or religion.
Of their tribe, because his antecedent has shown that.
Okay, let's talk about making Nigeria better, because that's top of mind for many Nigerians. We just want a better country where the people can thrive and can live well. So let's look at the economy which you spoke about. 77 trillion naira debt profile. It has been said a number of times on this show that the next president has a lot is coming into it, inheriting an economically weak nation, and we have a revenue challenge.
You're very right.
In what ways would your presidential candidate, what are the plans to revive the economy, which he promised on one of his campaign trails last year, to revive the economy, to shore up Nigeria's revenue, and to respond to this debt profile of 77 trillion naira, because that's big on the table.
That's huge. I mean, if you can recollect, when PDP were up 2015, the total debt profile was about 10 trillion. Today, as you rightly said, is 40. Maybe they will tell you it's 40 trillion. But if you had ways and means, you're close to 77 trillion. And you're running at about 90% of debt to revenue. That is because, you know why? I remember when I was president of the Senate, when we had economic recession, we organized meeting with the private sector. And one of the things we're driving them was investment, looking at assets of which we can allow people to invest. But this government just continued to go just one line, which was just borrowing. There was no opportunity given for people to come and invest. So the only opportunity, if you didn't have the revenue, was to borrow. Under Atiku Abubakar, who has always said it will be private sector driven, you will see investment coming in, because there are a lot of people that still want to invest in this great country. But the language, the attitude of the APC and the APC government has not encouraged that. So 3 things are key. 1, oil theft needs to be dealt with and fought precisely. That has not happened. That is why we've lost a great opportunity. All producing countries under this Ukraine-Russian war have had, look at Angola. They've benefited from this. It is not acceptable how, despite this, we're still having oil theft. That will stop on that. The corruption there, that will stop. He has said also on the issue of foreign exchange, multi-currency rates will stop, multi-rates will stop. That will encourage investment coming in, people will come. There are a lot of people who want to bring currency money into the country, but they're not going to come in when they know that the official rate is not ridiculous, not realistic. That is not. So you're trying to ensure that funds come in so that more money available, right? Thirdly, if you have private sector living infrastructure development, some of that private sector can take it off your hand. So these are ways in which you will create the jobs. Now, and then you start reducing your level of borrowing, which at the moment, and the only way to do that is, as I said, where some of those projects now can be looked for other source of financing, which is equity, which is investment on the private sector. The reality is that until you build confidence in the private sector to invest in this country, this pathway which they're going, which is reckless. I mean, you have budget deficit now at what, 4.67%? The Fiscal Responsibility Act that exists now, I'm sure a lot of you don't know. That was initiated, I remember I was SA Budget when I went to meet, he was Vice President Atiku Abubakar. I said, I saw this law in Brazil to do fiscal responsibility. He said, bring it to me. He moved for that law to be passed. And that law said you must not go above 2 to 3% fiscal. This government is running 4.67%. That would not happen under Atiku Abubakar to bring down the level of borrowing. So there will be some discipline. Now, if you also remember, under the PDP government, that there was a lot of engagement in the private sector. I remember I was a youngish SA at that time. Every Saturday, the president and the vice president, because he was chairman of the Economic Council, used to meet with leaders of different sectors in the business community that would come and tell them what were the issues they had that was affecting business. And they were addressing them with technocrats. This is the kind of government that you're going to have with Atiku Abubakar. Hands-on, private sector driven, that will bring confidence for investment. Look, Africa is still the continent for investment. We're lucky about that. Are you understand? So yes. If we get the message right, the message, well, what do you like using, the body language of this government does not encourage any private sector person bringing money. And as such, government has to fund everything. But the moment you create that, government will have to fund less. You will have more, your foreign reserve will pick up. You will borrow less. And your revenues, you go up. If you can, yes, also said issue of fuel subsidy is something that we need to let go of. So your revenues will pick up, right?
So talking about message then, a lot of people have seen I personally have watched most of the campaigns of the different political parties, and you find, say Baba, say this, say that, and a lot of political jingoism that you will find there. In terms of specific messaging that will help Nigerians make up their mind that this is the candidate we should vote for, you don't see that. You don't hear it, because you just get loads of verbal promises that are not backed by these are the ways or the path that we intend to work on this. What are the key things that your candidate will say, we will do, and this is how we will do? Because if somebody says, I'm going to create 5 million jobs in the first year, how?
Okay. I think those of you also in the media must take part of the blame on the issues of where we talk about, because you've seen a lot of sloganeering, you've seen a lot of propaganda, and people are not held accountable. How can you be going to a presidential election and candidates are evading debates, are evading discussions? In 2023, in today's world, I mean, in developed countries, presidential candidates are scrutinized, they're x-rayed, they tell you what they're not proxies, not third parties. They themselves will tell you. And when you discuss with Atiku Abubakar and you talk about his policy, when you listen to him, you know that this policy was not written by people and just given to him. He will take you through it. It's 5-point agenda. 1, I must secure the country. Number 1, how do I secure the country? He talks about more recruitment of personnel. You've got to bring in technology. And very importantly, he's going to ensure that there's collaboration between the agencies. One of the major problems of this government and this APC party is that the security agencies have not been able to share intelligence as much as possible. Now, and technology, that will increase. He said 2, I will address the economy. The second agenda. Addressing the economy, he said, 1, I will be able to raise money by the time I tackle wealth theft, take out subsidy. Those 2 items alone, done properly, can give you close to $10 billion. So when you say something, he's not just saying them. And I like the point you're saying. Let some of these candidates tell us what. So when he tells you, I'm going to put money into small scale, he knows where that money is coming from. Because he has a political will. These 2 issues are things that this government, this party should have tackled. These 2 issues, subsidy and wealth theft, okay? He said, I will ensure that there's investment coming in different sectors. People want to invest in the mineral sector. They're still less than 1% of GDP. They want to invest in gas. The gas projects that will provide employment for our youth. There's a tech sector for the youth. There's a creative industry that you spend the whole day talking to them, telling the plans to support. So it's not just, unfortunately, the media organizations don't, I'm not saying, Rise is a very credible one, don't focus on those issues. When a candidate cannot even tell us what he's doing, how do you hold? So these are some of the things, that's economy.
Yes.
Then he talks about restructuring, because restructuring is important. We must get the subnational more efficient. We must get the country more efficient. And that is something that Nigerians should say, because when you go and vote, you vote for issues. You say, okay, why am I voting for this party or for this candidate? Because I want this country to be better. How does this country be better? You must restructure for it to be better. Then which candidate truly believes in this restructuring? So if you believe in restructuring, you must go and vote for PDP and Atiku, because he has the pathway for that. That's number 3. He talks about how we unite this country, because that is key. Again, when PDP was in government, the unity of this country was better than now. No doubt. I mean, I can ask you. We must be able to speak truth and say what it is. The level of disunity in the country now was never before. APC brought us there.
But you were part of the
That's
people that said you were not happy with PDP, and then you moved to APC. No. You said the government was better, but yet you left.
Yes, I did. And when I realized, you see, I think
and you weren't the only one. There were quite a few
in life. Sometimes you do take decisions. Yes. It's not for you to think. It was done out of the interest of this country. But one was also bold enough and man enough to say, we made a mistake. This cannot take us there because the promises and what the expectations were not there.
So you're acknowledging that all of you that left PDP in 2015, you made a mistake and you want us to go back to...
I can't speak for everybody. I can't speak for...
Okay, for yourself.
I can only speak for myself. I've always acknowledged that.
Okay,
so let me just finish it because I was at restructuring. And the last was education. His focus on the importance that must address education. These are the agenda that he has, main core agenda that he has put in. And so when you talk about a lot of noise, I think he's one that is speaking to what he wants to do from day one. And that's what separates him. He's had an opportunity to sit down with 2 or 3 big TV channels where he sat down. They have asked him about his policy. He has responded to it for 2.5 hours, telling Nigerians what he wants to do. Let the other candidates, particularly other leading strong party, until they do that, in my view, they have not even started campaigning. Campaigning through proxies is different from you sitting down telling Nigerians, this is what I intend to do, so that Nigeria can judge you. I hear people talk about teams. Yes, but there must be leadership. There must be vision. Nigeria needs leaders that are hands-on. If you are not hands-on, as we've seen in the last 8 years, it will not work. Because the work that needs to be done is a lot. It needs somebody who knows what he expects, who is ready to chase what he expects, and who has an idea. Your team is as good as where you lead them to. So this is why I believe strongly that going forward for this country now, where we are now, I hear you on some of the issues, but I believe strongly that he is the best prepared to take us to where we are. Where we want to go.
So let's talk about campaigns. Later today, Waziri Atiku Abubakar, he's back on the campaign train. Some people had asked, about his whereabouts. He said he'd been on holiday in Dubai from the 1st. He went to London on the invitation of British government officials. And so that obviously brought up speculations around his health. And he's had to come out to defend his health status. And you would understand why Nigerians are concerned. Because in this particular administration, we've had to work with a president who spent quite a reasonable amount of time abroad on health grounds for health checks. Even though he said he's paid from his personal account, Nigeria still funds at least his flight costs to the United Kingdom. And so you would understand Nigerians' concerns around the health of your presidential candidate. Then, talking about mistakes, it's a good opportunity to speak to you about that, because former President Olusegun Obasanjo had said to a group of students last year in June that one of the mistakes he made was picking Waziri Atiku Abubakar as his number 2 candidate. So in the same way that you mentioned that leaders make decisions and they go back and they say it was a mistake, I'd like you to speak to that. If someone he worked very closely with for 8 years, comes out to say that picking him as a vice president was a mistake.
Yeah, but at the same time,
Nigerians should be going to the polls on February 25 too.
But Obasanjo has said that. At the same time, he has said that in 2019, when we were campaigning, he also said that he is a good candidate for Nigeria.
But this was in 2022.
I'm saying, which one do you pick? I don't know the fora which he said that. The fora I know that he has also said when we went to campaign that this is the candidate that. But the issue is this. Let's leave out what Obasanjo said. Let's look at what he did when he was vice president. As I said, as vice president, he was head of the Economic Council. He drove a lot of the privatization. He had driven the issue of economy. Did PDP do well under those issues of the economy in that period? PDP did well. PDP government did well.
So why isn't Obasanjo supporting him this time? He supported Mr. Peter Obi.
Obasanjo has said that his own view from what I hear, is that he strongly believes that there should be a Southern president. That's his view. He said that, and I will say he said that because I ran for presidential primaries, and I went to see him seeking for support. And he said, look, son, my view is that I think that there should be a Southern president. So that's his view, and he's entitled to his view. That does not mean because he thinks or believes that there should be a Southern president, all of a sudden Atiku is no longer good. And I'm saying that let us go by the records that exist for Atiku Abubakar. It's the records I want us to go. You see, this is why I keep on coming back to this in the media. Let us stand and stick to the issue. You talk about health. We all know, everyone knew that Atiku Abubakar was in London to attend a meeting in the UK government. It was just some propaganda, trying to raise the impression that, all the candidates or most of the candidates are not healthy. We know those that are not, that have health challenges. So Atiku Abubakar does not belong to that category. Atiku Abubakar is ready to debate the issues. He's come to tell Nigerians this is what I want to do. A leading party that wants to rule this country are not doing that. They're sending proxies. That sends a bad signal. And it's not just a presidential. You see, even people running for governor.
Yes.
They're not talking to their people. Then when they become governor, they don't perform. We're surprised. Why should it be? I believe that any candidate is not ready to tell the people who want to vote, and this is what I want to do. He's not fit to be in that position. Tell us. It might not be perfect, but at least let us know. And I think it's wrong for voters to go and vote for somebody who you have not even sat down and told you what he wants to do. So my take is that he's very fit. As I said, look at the discussion on his policy. That is somebody that knows, not somebody that was given a policy and is reading it out. He's ready to come out and take questions. Today, we're here in Lagos before the Economic Summit Group. He's having interviews with different media organizations. They're going to take him up. He wants to talk about his policy. He wants to talk about what he wants to do. That is a candidate that is prepared from day one to be up and running.
So let me ask you this.
Yes, go ahead.
A lot of people have said that in politics, make as many friends as you can, avoid very strong enemies because they will come out with all kinds of troubles. Now, unfortunately, Atiku Abubakar and PDP seem to have an enemy that is or used to be within, but we're not even sure whether he's within or he's without.
No.
And that is the G5 led by Governor Wike. You have a situation on your hand where there is serious damage done to the party. If you were to ignore the camera in this place and be honest with us and say, what is the level of damage that the G5 led by Governor Wike has done to the PDP and your candidate?
I'll be very honest with you. Like any political party, you want everybody to be on board and move in one direction. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen, but the election is not tomorrow. The election is still another 6 to go. And you know politics. As I always say, 24 hours is a long time.
It is a long time, yes.
We were in Plateau yesterday to commiserate and condole the people of Plateau State of ghastly road traffic accident. And we paid a visit to Governor Jang, former governor of Plateau State, who you all know 3 weeks ago said, I will never, or I will not support Atiku. Today, we're happy to hear he says it's PDP, top to bottom, he's supporting Atiku. So work is a lot of stuff is being done.
But the damage as of today, how would you quantify it?
Look, I've looked at it because now we're going to start talking about, look at states and how I've told you at the opening, I believe that we will do well in the Northeast, except for probably 2 states. We will do well in those 4 states in the Northeast. We will do well in the Northwest. I'm confident that 5 to 6 states will take in the Northwest. We will do well in the North Central. It's been past being a PDP state. We will, despite issues, we'll do well in Benue, despite the fact that the governor is not. Because you see, don't forget, with the new Electoral Act, with the technology brought in, we're still looking at politics as if it's a command and control. That one man can, it's changed. People now have voices. People now have their own views. So when you put so much importance, I'm not saying they're not important. Benue is PDP. Maybe we're going to cut, let's say we're going to score 400,000 because of this issue. Yeah, we will lose some votes. But I still believe we'll win Benue. We will win Plateau.
Okay.
So the point I'm making is that even in Oyo State, you saw the people of Oyo State are saying, Governor, we hear you, we understand you, but guess what? We're voting Atiku. So the point I'm making is that we still got 45 days or 40 days to go. We will see more and more of some of the members come on board. We're still talking,
so
we're engaging.
So can I interpret that as you're saying that there's been serious damage, but you're working?
No, I'm not saying
or there's
that.
no damage?
No.
I'm just trying to clarify.
No, you're trying to give me your words.
Okay,
let me use my words.
Your word, yes.
My words are, it's unfortunate.
Okay.
It could have given us a bigger margin. What I'm saying is that between now and then, we will likely bring back most of these voters on. You saw them. They told you by first week of January, they're going to tell Nigerians where they're going. We are now middle of January. They have not told Nigerians where they're going. You should read into that. There's something going on. And I'm saying be optimistic that we have the capacity that come time of the election, you will see that the situation is not. So I cannot predict something that I know, because I know there's some things happening I don't want to share with you in here, as you say, with the lights and all of the lights are on. So I got to choose.
We'd love for you to share with us.
But what I'm saying is that,
sure. Let's stay on this for a few minutes, because of course it's played quite a significant role in Atiku Abubakar's campaign towards elections 2023. What are the agitations? The agitation of the G5 governors is that the presidential candidates of your party and the chairman of your party are from the same zone. You have also talked about the nepotism in this particular administration. And what Nigerians are saying is that if you're not able to handle it within your party, what is the assurance for Nigerians that you wouldn't address such issues if, in the event that your candidate becomes president? That's one. The second part of that is, so the big thing is that, and then the second part adding to that is on leadership. You talk about the importance of leadership, the power of leadership. People are saying that if you're not able to manage your internal politics, if I put it that way, how then, as a leader in Nigeria, would you manage the diversity and the complexities of the politics of Nigeria as a whole?
Okay, I think first of all, it's the solution that the G5 want, which there's nothing, it's not something that is easy to do without addressing the constitution of the party and processes. It's not something that you can just wave one and say, this will happen. It's not something that's driven just by his own decision. That's point number one. It's different when you as a president, an executive president of the country, and you have responsibility. Those are within your powers. These are strictly party issues. Now, but I can assure you that it's an issue of timing. What the G5 are asking for in insurance of equity balancing, everybody is on the same page with that. It's all about when it will happen. Those are the kind of things that we're talking about now. Nobody is not against what they're saying. It's about timing. When it should be done, how should we go about it? And I promise you, and we're working hard to see that those issues were addressed.
So you're moving to regularize that. So you're saying that maybe elections are a distraction at the moment. As we move forward, you would constitutionally remove your chairman.
What I'm saying is that those issues, that the chairman himself is not saying he wants to sit tight and do this. Do you understand what I'm saying? What is important now before us is this election. We hear those cries, we hear those issues. I don't see a President Atiku from the north being sworn in May 2023 as president, and in the same year we'll continue to have a northern chairman. I don't see that. It's all about timing and how best to go about it. So the fears of Nigerians that, this is a party that does not care or listen to those issues, not that. It's how to go about the process that we don't break laws in trying to do that. I can assure you. And I'll be back here in 2023 to tell, I'll remember, and I'll remind you as well.
So what you're saying, in essence, if I were to read the minds of some of those on the G5, they'll be saying that if that were the case, Why could it not be implemented now so that they're clear? Because there's an understanding, according to them, that if there is a candidate that emerges and is from a certain region, the chairman will not be from that region. There was the issue of secondus that was moved out. Some people said there was some power politics that led to the then chairman secondus being moved out so that it could then become a southern candidate that would emerge. So how do you...
No, I think you're putting... Even the chairman has said that we're in February, we're 5 weeks away. That if the president emerges, which we're very hopeful Atiku will emerge, that the issue of the chairman will be addressed. So that has already been said. All the G5 are saying that no. We want it now. Do you understand? So we're not that far apart. And I can assure Nigerians we're not that far apart. And that is why you're seeing some of them begin to understand, you know what, let's go and win this election. And then we'll come back and address
So you're saying
that.
Some of them are beginning to capitulate.
Don't use capitulate as a strong word, as if they're betraying them. I'm not using capitulate.
Well, you said you would sanction, the PDP said they'd sanction them if they do not, as what they're doing is tantamount to anti-party activities.
No, capitulate is different from tantamount to PDP activity. I don't know what activities they wanted to do then. The point I'm saying is that as we continue to engage with Nigerians, we see the bigger picture. There are 200 million Nigerians that are waiting to see that a new government, new direction for Nigeria. That issue is more important. Not saying that issue of the party is not important. They want to see better life, better security. They believe that through Atiku Abubakar that will happen. So a lot of us in the party are saying, you know what, let's think of the future of Nigerians. Let us go and vote for Atiku Abubakar. Once we do that, then we now also address the issue of the chairmanship of the party.
All right. Okay. Very quickly, because we're about to wrap up now.
Yeah.
Every politician has something they're looking for, and that's why they're into politics.
Yeah.
Nobody goes into it to just say, oh, yeah, it's for the general good of the nation, and I'm being altruistic about it. More often than not, when you hear a politician say, oh, it's for the general good of the people who have been called to serve, the assumption is it is not true. Now, let me ask you pointedly, what is in it for you if Atiku Abubakar were to become the president of Nigeria? Because you're not in the Senate, you're not in the National Assembly. What's in it for you? What's the deal for you by supporting Atiku?
The deal for me is to reverse the unfortunate 8 years that this country has gone through. I'll say it categorically, and I'll say it. When I ran for president, people said, go to the Senate, to this. I'm not interested. I don't have to be in public office. But I'm desperate for a new direction for this country. I believe that Atiku Abubakar, which is what I've heard, his background, what he has done, will drive the economy, which is key. Even when we talk about insecurity, we must go back to the issue of economy. I know he will drive the economy. He will create private sector investment. He will plug the issue of oil theft. He will address the issue of subsidy. He will bring in investors. If the country begins to get better, as you say, people like us say, oh, thank God. We made a mistake a long time ago, but the country is now moving in the right direction.
So no promise of anything for you?
This is what I want. A better Nigeria. Because, you know, as
you're not interested in any political appointment for the future?
That is not a priority, not at all.
Okay.
What is important is to make Atiku Abubakar the president of Nigeria, because I truly believe that he is ready and he will make this country much better.
Well, thank you very much,
Thank
Dr.
you so
Bukola
much.
Saraki, for your time this morning.
Thank you so much.
On the morning show. It's time now for a short break on the morning show. When we return, we'll have Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni join us to review top stories in today's newspapers. Stay with us.
Emergencies happen when you least expect them to. It gets worse when you are cash-strapped. No need to despair. First Advance has you covered. You can get that urgent cash right now on First Advance. With First Advance, salary earners can get up to 50% of their salary. No hassles. As long as you earn a monthly salary and your salary account has been active for at least 2 months. It doesn't matter if you run a salary account with First Bank or any other bank. Just dial star 894 star 11 hash or simply dial star 894 hash on your mobile phone. What's more, when you open a First Bank salary account, you can enjoy 0 charges and free debit card issuance. Download the First mobile app on Play Store or App Store today. Log in to experience First Bank digital banking. Select loans, select First Advance, and follow the prompts to receive your loan. Don't let that urgent need get the best of you. Get First Advance now. It's as simple as dialing star 894 star 11 hash. First Advance. Fast, convenient, secure. You first. First Bank.
Lagos has amassed more wealth than any other state in the country to be the most comfortable city to live in.
Now Lagos is earning 51 billion naira every month.
But even with all that money, this is the Lagos you have now. Bad roads filled with potholes, poor drainage system resulting in floods during rainy season, incessant traffic congestions, increased environmental pollution, poor healthcare system, large-scale child begging, poor security and increased crime rate, impunity of state government officials, lack of clean drinking water, poor transportation system. After years of empty promises, Lagos is now rated as the second worst city to live in the world. How long shall we continue like this? Lagos is not working. We want our Lagos back. Vote Dr. Abdulaziz Olajide Adediran Jandor as governor of Lagos State. Jafueko, fight for Lagos.
PDP, power to the people.
Glovo is the app that brings you anything you want. Like better crispy chicken and chilling after work. Or what you need from the supermarket, sharp. Even some diapers to escape real wahala. Download the app, order a Glovo, and we get it.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst, as Ruben liked to call him, Emmanuel Afeni. Good morning, Emmanuel. So good to see you today.
It's a
great Malabite, as you like to say.
Good morning, Ayo. Myro Essay. Now we'll start the review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. The lead story, democracy has come to stay in Nigeria. Irabo declares, says military to back up police for smooth elections. Cleric prays for peaceful polls. Buhari reviews last Remembrance Day parade as president. State governors pledge more support to military. Yes, the Armed Forces Remembrance Day took place yesterday, and it was a good day for the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabo, to restate the commitment of the Nigerian military to support the police, the lead security agency on election day, because we know this election is crucial, with insecurity still rearing its head here and there across the country. You need the military, perhaps as in time past, to man the roadblocks so that they curtail movement of persons who want to go and cause mayhem on election day. So, restating democracy has come to stay in Nigeria. I'm sure everybody will say, yes, that is the situation, and we don't want that to change at all. Now, the Daily Trust newspaper also reporting this story, 2023, military pledges defense for democracy. Now, the Nation newspaper, Tinubu rallies APC leaders, candidates for elections. Ex-governor, ex-Lagos governor, governorship, National Assembly, standard bearers brainstorm. Yes, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the presidential torchbearer of the APC, of course, having that strategy meeting, you want to call it, with candidates, governorship candidates, as well as candidates for National Assembly and Houses of Assembly across the country. That is his party candidates, that is. And, of course, brainstorming. Now, the Nigerian Tribune newspaper scrambled for Kano, Lagos, Oyo, Rivers, Kaduna voters. Atiku, Tinubu, Obi, Kwankwan, so flood states with mobilizers. Yes, these are key states because of the population of votes they command. Yes, Kano coming second to Lagos with the highest number of votes. Of course, Oyo, Rivers, Kaduna, key centers. And the candidates are not only campaigning in these states, they are also mobilizing their mobilizers to go from town to town, city to city, if you will, word to word. Now, but above the masthead of the Nigerian Tribune, Jakonde, best Lagos governor, Tinubu appropriating Fashola Ambode project, Atiku campaign. Well, Tinubu has a political dynasty he has created in Lagos. So if he is appropriating those of his successor, because they always tell you, is the master plan of the master, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that they are executing. I will not quarrel with that, because you say they are his peak, as it were. But when it comes to what Jakonde has done, for those of us who lived in Lagos for a long time, we will say, yes, Jakonde is referred to as the Baba Kekere. That is the Kekere of Obafemi Awolowo, the small Baba, as it were, because of the job he did in 4 years. 4 years. Jakonde created the Lagos State University. Tinubu and his dynasty did not create one in 21 years until recently, when the current governor decided to establish universities. And he did it by converting existing higher institutions. So even when it comes to education, you know, the torchbearer in this city, in Lagos State, was a certain Jakonde, Lateef Jakonde, who was governor, the late Lateef Jakonde, LKJ they call him. Other areas, he performed wonderfully. And what he did in 4 years, if you put it side by side, what the Tinubu and his dynasty have done, clearly Jakonde is ahead in terms of who actually is the builder of modern Lagos. But again, one man don't build a city. It's something that has been done over time. Mobolaji Johnson did his part. Other military governors from Bito Ikiwe, of course, Buba Marwa, they all contributed their quota. So we'll just move on to other stories. Now, the New Telegraph newspaper, State of the Nation. None can build logical Nigerian narrative around one religion. Bakare, St. Tunde Bakare, the pastor, urges citizens to reject vote buyers. Political merchant says nation confronted by regional ethnic memory joggers. Inadequacies of old political order, others fueling obedient movement momentum. Christian elders warn against provocative utterances. And I think, well, Tunde Bakare, a horse between the pulpit and the soul box. So if you see him dabbling in politics, he's a politician who once run as a running mate of President Muhammadu Buhari under the CPC then. Now, the Punch newspaper, economy, bank borrowing from CBN rises 260% to 21.87 trillion naira. Lenders frequent central bank lending window post-COVID-19 as business activities pick up. Now, the Guardian newspaper also reporting economy. Nigeria loses 8 trillion naira to FX arbitrage in 3 years. Realistic exchange rate will add 4 trillion naira to Federation account in 2023, says Moda Yusuf, ex-CBN director. It's not intervention, but outcome of regulatory control. 3 years after rate harmonization, still illusion. Yes, the gap between the official exchange rate and the parallel market, still big headache to economic planners. FX inflow dwindle as dollar demand pressure continues. Now, the Vanguard newspaper, also economy 2023 OPS, organized private sector, bemoans rising costs, list pain points, rolls out 14 areas to be tackled by new government. I hope that blueprint will be handed immediately to the next president, and every candidate, presidential candidate, should be conversant with the key problems of the economy. Nobody will come and say, I did not know the magnitude of the rot. That will not be accepted by Nigerians. After May 29, 2023, whoever emerge as Nigeria's next president. Now, the foreign newspapers quickly. The Times of UK, 2 in 3 voters think the NHS offers bad service. Yes, Times poll looks for solutions to the health crisis in the UK. The NHS warns the pride of UK and the benchmark for health services for other countries seem to be in dire times. And of course, the YouGov survey poll conducted by the Times of London found a dramatic collapse in public trust in the health service, with more than 2/3 of people saying the thought provisions was bad and 80% saying the NHS has got worse in the past 5 years. Kayode and Ayo.
No surprises there. NHS, the dissatisfaction with NHS services. We spoke about this last week.
Yes.
With regards to...
It's been in the headlines.
It's been in the headlines.
For some time now.
Yes, we've talked about what are the challenges. Obviously, one of it is funding. And the government, funding for the NHS not being sufficient, the long waiting time as a result of funding. And so that headline is the obvious, stating the obvious. I'm surprised it's not even 2.5.
No, but the good thing is that the Times also, they are compiling solutions.
Fantastic.
Which Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, and Kesema, the Labour leader, they are all ready to accept and work on after the next election.
We've been working on solutions after the next election.
Yes.
We've been working on solutions for donkey years with regards to the NHS. Some people have said, let's unbundle it. Some people have said the government can no longer continue to fund the NHS primarily and perhaps take it away from, to privatize it. So there are many issues around the NHS.
But it is still a reference point.
It is.
Yeah. But we're still on the issue of health. I
Yeah.
mean, on the cover of this day, you got the Nigeria records 29 fresh cases of COVID in 1 week.
Yes.
And we cannot completely ignore that. The Lunar New Year in China, they said, I think about 100 million people milled around China, traveling around. And there is serious concern about the number of deaths that is happening in China as a result of COVID. To the point where even America is saying now we will be checking anybody coming from China.
Many other countries are doing that,
UK
except
is doing
Nigeria.
it, Nigeria is not. And the number has risen in terms of COVID in the UK and in the US from all the reports that I have seen. So what is Nigeria doing when we have 29 fresh records? Are we sleeping or just sitting on our hands and assuming that COVID is over? Because that's a key issue here.
Well, there were some moves and statements by the NCDC last week, but I think we need to see more proactive measures. We don't have to wait to be hit by another wave of the pandemic. Don't forget, we've not vaccinated enough. Yep. We're not doing enough testing, even in the peak of COVID-19 pandemic. So we cannot just leave our borders open in the face of what is happening in China.
Well, we hope the authorities are listening and they're not sitting on their hands so that it doesn't come back to bite us in the wrong place. Well, talking about what we had conversation about earlier, is the laying of wreath and General Lucky Rabo saying that democracy has come to stay. Definitely, that is good news, because from all of what we have seen, Emmanuel, all of what we have seen, it looks like the military is not particularly interested in political offices. I guess they're more interested
despite what is happening in West Africa.
Yes.
No, I think
they're more interested in international assignment to go and do peacekeeping and things like that.
Well, I want to say the military has come of age, and what's happening in politics does not concern them as to want to interfere. They are Nigerians, they will cast their votes. Whenever Nigerians are dissatisfied with a government, we use the ballot box to change that government. And that's why we are urging everybody, collect your PVC, go and cast your vote on February 25 for the next president, whoever your choice is.
Definitely.
Yes, I mean, the front page of this also has that article appeals to Nigerians to collect their PVCs. I must say that beyond him, all the presidential candidates are appealing to Nigerians to go out there and collect their PVCs. You still can't collect at ward level up until this Sunday.
Yes, and over the weekend, Sunday, people were collecting, even in my neighborhood. Brilliant. They were calling me, have you collected? I said, no, I've passed that stage.
9 a.m. to 3 p.m. every day. In fact, some people I see taking pictures. It's like it's an honor to pick up a PVC.
Yes, I think that's what it should be, so that you encourage others who are reluctant, who are not interested, to do so. It's your civic responsibility.
Absolutely.
Well, before you go, Emmanuel, security operatives rescue 12 Edo train kidnaps. It's really harrowing experience.
Yes, to be in kidnappers' den.
Yes, and it looks like there is, even the governor of Edo State is making allegations against the Nigeria Railway Corporation. So that really worries one. Are they caring so much about the security of the people that travel on train?
You see, we had that Kaduna episode.
Yes.
And the then former minister came out to say, oh, the security gadgets that were provided were not provided. It was shut down, the Federal Executive Council. We thought we have learned some lessons. And now the Edo incident. Now, every train station will be properly manned by security men. And whatever security facility we are putting, the rails should be secure and safe for Nigerians to enjoy this, the rail services. Yes. Otherwise, what is the use? The roads, not safe, rail, not safe. What else?
Then what next?
Well, 2 more people are still in captivity, the station manager and the clerk, staff of the Nigerian Railway Corporation.
Every effort should be made to bring everybody out. Yeah. Of course, there are many other people who are still in kidnapping. Then they should be brought out by the government and the military authorities. Yep.
Thank you very much, Mr. Feni. It's time for a short break now. When we return, Aaron Akerijola will be here with Global Sports Updates. Stay with us.
Reflection of the Nigerian never say die spirit. They never stay down. You're always thinking of how to improve. You're always thinking of how to move forward. My name is Emmanuel Ahimieho. I've been a civil engineer for 18 years. I'm the project manager of Obajana Kaba Road. The Obajana Kaba Road is 43 kilometers built completely of concrete pavement. We started work on December 2016. I remember when we came here, it was virtually lifeless. We're building a road that we know will need very minimal maintenance. It's a road that we don't need to rush back to in 5 years, trying to carry out major maintenance work. We don't need to import anything that we need on the road. They are all locally available materials. All the cement we use on this road is from Dangote Cement Factory, which is the largest cement factory in Africa. The sand is from the communities, so people from the community, they end up becoming suppliers. Imagine supplying sand for a 43-kilometer road. It's a lot of money. There are things I've learned from building this concrete road that I never knew 10 years ago. And to be able to lead those people to achieve something worthwhile, something that is of value to them, to the community, to people who have never met us. And I am positive that the road will outlast most of the people who are building the road. Along this route, you have up to 12 communities. People have the confidence to open shops. Why? Because, someone is going through the road, they sell their things, they sell their goods. That is more money for them. We have a number of eateries now, and you want to buy food along the road, you get fresh food, not food that are preserved. No, you get fresh food. So it is good for us, and it's good for the community too. The road is a lot more safer now for everybody, including Halima, including other travelers. So they have better roads, lesser crime, shorter journey times, so a lot of advantages. I've had people who go through the roads and they stop to just say, well done. We are proud of what is happening here. We're happy that this is going on in Nigeria in our time. We can see it. They are proud of it. I think it has brought life back to the communities. I feel very proud, extremely proud being a part of this project.
This na Emeka. He like to dey keep money for her. As CBN deadline don dey near so. This one na wise Emeka. As he don hear say deadline dey near, he wan carry money go deposit for the right place with Access Bank.
It's time to spread your wings and fly. Reach for the sky.
Even if the bank too far, na to go to the nearest Access Closer agent. No carry last with your money o.
Get up right now, right now.
Money wey you deposit for Access Bank, na money wey go make your mind rest well well. Don't let the money spoil for your hand o. 10 million naira today, fit be 0 naira tomorrow. Oya o, Musa, Shade, Onyinye, carry your money go Access Bank or Access Closer agent wey near you. Access, more than banking.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. For updates on sports stories across the globe, Aaron Akirijola joins us. Good morning, Aaron. How are you today?
Good morning to you, Ayo. Good morning to you. Good morning to UK. It's good to be here today. And it was actually a very eventful weekend, I must say. Packed with actions from back to front. In every direction you actually look, it was actually laced with great moments. Left bitter taste in some mouths, and some actually were celebrated to the high heavens. Okay, let's start it off from the team that actually probably gave a massive gloss over this weekend. Yeah. In the North London derby, Arsenal once again rising to the occasion when it mattered the most, 2-0. First half goes, of course, an own goal from Hugo Lloris. Then Martin Odegaard, the captain, actually just putting a finishing gloss on it, a cherry on top of the cake. Arsenal dominated. Tottenham Hotspur came into the game in the second half, but thanks to some heroics from their goalkeeper Ramsdale, certainly ensuring that the Gunners right now, if you can actually see the record now, as it stands right now, they have the most points at this stage of the season, which is 47. Yeah. Quite instructive. The last time they were this good was back in 2004 when they won that particular title, the Invisibles. The last time they actually won the title, you can actually see the table reflective of all Arsenal has done this season. 8 points clear of chasers Manchester City, who we'll talk about in a moment. Newcastle's third, fourth, Don't get ahead of yourself.
No, that's how. Is it?
Don't get ahead of yourself.
Yeah. Wait, Aaron. No. I'm not even asking this question as an Arsenal fan.
Yeah.
Is it too early to call? I know. I'm saying that not because of the time, but analyzing the form of the team. So a number of pundits have said that they're in the best form of their. I mean, in many years, this is the best form we've seen Arsenal. So I'm not just talking about it from a place of because they're doing well. Obviously, it's January, it's too early for looking at timing. But in terms of even the form of the team compared to other Premiership teams.
I'll put it this way: they will still play Manchester United and Manchester City. Those are 3 games. Twice against Manchester City, 1 against Manchester United. That will determine whether or not they are title ready. If they can overcome that game, probably with draws or probably take points away from these big guns that are also firing, like Manchester United, then you might begin to talk about maybe a party, or maybe they should begin to put the champagne on ice. Save that, I must tell you. But let's press it further. Of course, it was also the Manchester derby over the weekend, and quite controversial, I must actually say. Bruno Fernandes' goal, some said shouldn't have stood because Marcus Rashford was still in play with the ball and he was interfering with play. But some will say, no, we don't care. Manchester United won that game 2-1, and that's how it actually ended. And at the moment, Manchester United are getting closer to Manchester City. Away from that, quickly, because of time, I do not want to get into what the managers and the players are actually saying. Also, it was the El Clasico over the weekend, and Gavi and the gang just turned it up in style as Barcelona put to the sword Real Madrid. 3-0 is how he actually ended. Xavi winning his very first trophy, the Super Cup. Kudos to him. A very woeful performance and a very, very shambolic performance from the Los Merengues on the day. We expected so much from Real Madrid. They are the defending champions of the UEFA Champions League, but they failed to sizzle. Away from that, quickly, at the Australian Open, first of all, let's start it off with Rybakina. This is quite controversial because fans are actually hitting out at the Australian Open for snubbing the reigning champion, Rybakina, because they are claiming that she's not as good looking as other winners and not as marketable enough, so they're not putting her out there. But you look at that and you say to yourself that that's the world of sports. Sometimes they try to favor some over others, but that is not going to take the shine away from the Australian Open. As you actually press further, you actually get to see that as at the moment, some are actually moving on. The Americans are doing very, very well for themselves. Coco Gauff getting past in the first round, and I must say that Danny Collins also in the mix. But the big one has to be the one that is actually coming in right now. One man won his first game this particular Australian Open, and he knows he has a fight in his hands. Talking about no other than Rafa Nadal. Rafa Nadal was made to work hard for his game against Jack Draper in the first today, just probably like an hour ago. So other matches are actually coming in. But Novak Djokovic, Rafa Nadal still remain the fans' favorites and the team's favorites to actually win this particular one. Of course, we have to mention the likes of Naomi Osaka that has actually withdrawn. Not forgetting also Nick Kyrgios also withdrawing from the Australian Open. It's been quite painful for them. And before I actually open the floor to you guys, let's just talk about Tinubu Kokowa, who has been elected the Athletics Federation President region for the African region. And I must say kudos to what he has actually done. And at the moment, we're having Nigerians and Africans just doing great things across the plane.
Well done. Thank you very much. So in terms of the Premiership, where do you see Manchester United going? With the way they have been playing under Ten Hag in recent time, they've hit a new high.
Yes, they have hit a new high. But you know what they always say? Form is temporal, class is always permanent. They might be in form. Down the line, when the season gets rough, when the games are coming thick and fast, because there is a very clustered calendar because of the World Cup, then metals will be tested, then results will be tested, then mentalities will be tested. That is where we'll find out if they can actually match up to the likes of Manchester City that know how to win titles, because experience plays a lot in all of these things. Manchester United in unfamiliar territory for the first time in a long time, doing so well. Arsenal also doing very well, speculatively very well. I must say, kudos to them. But
speculatively?
No, because the point is no one ever saw this coming.
Yes.
No one ever thought this coming. Because at the beginning of the season, they were hoping to get into the top 4. And right now, I'm maybe hoping that down the line, when probably Mikel Arteta and Edu actually met, down the line they would have said that probably in 2-3 years we will be able to win the Premier League. So they are ahead of schedule. They are ahead of themselves. Way ahead of themselves. But it will be tested.
Okay,
pressures will be on them.
Very quickly then, what do you then say about what's happening to Liverpool?
Liverpool, they used to call themselves the mentality monsters, and I think that has taken a lot from them. Last season's disappointment they've not been able to overcome that, and also losing Sadio Mane has been a huge loss. Probably that cannot be overstated. At the moment, they are lost at sea, and they will need to regroup themselves because they know that if they want to make themselves attractive for buyers to come in and buy them from the FSG, they will need to get into the UEFA Champions League places. And at the moment, they are not looking.
Out of time,
they are not looking like
Thank
it.
you so much, Aaron Akorojola.
We'll take a short break now, and when we return, we shall be talking to Festus Keyamo, spokesperson for the Tinubu Shetima Presidential Campaign Council. Please do stay with us.
New Naira notes? Don't panic. Here's what you need to know. Ensure to make deposits of all old banknotes before January 31, 2023. To make the process seamless for you, all Fidelity Bank branches will be open till 6 p.m. on weekdays and 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturdays to allow for cash deposits only. Also, please note that bank charges on all cash deposits have been suspended by the CBN. However, charges shall still be applied on cash withdrawals. The new banknotes can be accessed at any Fidelity Bank branch nationwide from December 15, 2022. Old banknotes will remain in circulation till January 31, 2023, when they will cease to be legal tender, as directed by the CBN. For more inquiries, follow us on our social media channels or email us at true.serve@fidelitybank.ng. You can also call 0700 3035 489 or reach us on WhatsApp on 090 3000 5252. Thank you for banking with us.
We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
Introducing an all-time mega offer. Get over 50% discount in the Airtel Home Broadband mega offer. Buy a router for just 10,000 Naira and get up to 240 gigabyte or a MiFi for 5,000 Naira and get up to 125 gigabyte bonus data. More data, more you. Reliable home broadband buy.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Getting together for the first time in years was a little bit awkward. Grandpa still tried to entertain us. Mom was always still in the spotlight from the kids. It wasn't until Grandma cracked a joke
That's my favorite prayer.
that we got back into our groove. In this festive, DSTV is making family time even better with an upgrade.
Stay connected to DSTV and we'll upgrade you to the next package for free.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. If there is one candidate to beat in the coming presidential election, it will be the flag bearer of the ruling All Progressives Congress, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The former Lagos State governor has dominated the headlines since he embarked on his campaign around the country. Just like his counterpart in the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, Tinubu has equally talk about what he hopes to achieve if he is elected. which includes building a Nigeria with sufficient jobs and better wages, making basic healthcare, education, and affordable housing for all, amongst other things. However, one of the major concerns Nigerians have constantly talked about is his well-being. Joining us on the show this morning to discuss Bola Ahmed Tinubu's chances at the coming election and how he intends to achieve his various promises for Nigeria is Festus Keyamo, spokesperson for the Tinubu Shetima Presidential Campaign Council. Welcome to the morning show.
Thank you for having me this morning, and so good to see you.
Good to see you too. Now let's just start off with what I just talked about with regards to the health status of your candidate before we go on to other issues, because this is a big issue for many Nigerians. Many Nigerians have questioned his fitness for the position of the #1 CEO, if I could put it that way, of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. They talked about mental and physical agility, which is in question with regards to your candidate.
Well, no matter how much they repeat it, the opposition and the section of the press, no matter how much they parrot it, the fact remains that there is no evidence to the contrary, that my candidate has some kind of health issues. I said it on this program before, that the strategy has been to repeat a lie 1,000 times until that lie sticks out as the truth. But as I speak with you, in the last few weeks, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been more active on the campaign trail than any other candidate. He has been going around day to day, hour to hour, from place to place, having several meetings. And after all of the rallies, he continues consultations till the wee hours of the morning. So how else can one prove his fitness other than that? So like I said, now, bam, this program opens. The first thing you ask is about health. It's just a strategy of the opposition to continue to stick this and repeat it 1,000 times. But let me tell you this, ordinary Nigerians watching their television screens, reading about his itinerary, they have made up their minds. I can tell you that. No matter how much you continue to repeat it, there is no problem at all with Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
So there are people who are watching, and some of the things they've seen on the campaign grounds in terms of what your candidate has done, some have shared, and these are a video that is being shared, and you wonder that are there issues that Nigerians should know about? The question has always been Nigerian presidential candidates or any candidate whatsoever, they don't disclose the state of their health. Is there anything whatsoever that Nigerians should know regarding his health? It may not jeopardize his candidacy. It may not affect him being able to run Nigeria as the president. But are there things that Nigerians should know?
Well, you said you started the question by mentioning certain things have happened on the campaign trail to my candidate. I have not seen anything happen that has not happened to any other candidate. I repeat and I qualify it. I have not seen anything happen to my candidate that has not happened to any other candidate. Slip of tongue here and there. It has happened to Atiku, it has happened to Obi, it has happened to his running mate. It has happened to the spokespersons. The PDP spokespersons and their candidates have asked Nigerians to vote for APC, even far more than the APC people have asked Nigerians to vote for APC. They are always campaigning for APC in slip of tongues. So what has happened to my candidate? Has he fainted? Has he collapsed? Has he missed his steps climbing, stairways? What has happened to him? Nothing has happened to him. So when you talk about health status, there must be a basis by which somebody will now say, okay, I need to disclose my health status. There must be a basis. But there's no basis. Absolutely no basis.
Mr.
If there's a basis for it, then perhaps we will call for it.
Well, Mr. Keyamo.
For me, really, You know, to spend the hold on. For me, really, to spend the first 5 minutes of this program talking about health issue that does not exist is actually absolute waste of time, because I want to go to more serious issues.
We will move to issues, but you must admit that the health status of a candidate who is vying for the #1 position in Nigeria is important. When you go to even the private sector, and you want to take on an important job, you'll be asked to go for medicals, in sports, in different sectors. So I don't think it's remiss for Nigerians to ask for the status of their presidential candidate, bearing in mind that the current president, who is under your party, has also been out of the country for a considerable number of days in his time, in office. So it's important for Nigerians to know how fit the presidential candidate is. And so I'll just ask one more time before we move on to the next thing, just to check where you say that it is baseless. In Mina, he was rushed off stage. There's some reasons given. There are videos of your presidential candidate going off his train of thought while speaking. As Mr. Kaide mentioned, it's not about the fact that he's had, it is the honesty and declaring and being honest with the electorate of Nigerians who want to vote for a credible leader come February 25. And so it's not, just to respond to that, there are a number of videos way beyond the slips of tongue you've mentioned of the other presidential candidates that your candidate has made in recent times. Too many to mention. Now you are making a statement. You're not asking a question. And it is wrong. That is what I call the tyranny of the microphone. You just sit behind the microphone every day in the morning and you make profound statements and you don't know the weight of the statement you are making. For example, you say my candidate was rushed off stage in Mina. That is not true. That is absolute false. How can you stay there and make such a statement? And it is not true. Show the clips for Nigerians. You are a television station. Show the clips. It's on record.
There was nothing like that. After the Mina event, no, don't argue. If you want to argue with me, then come and be a co-debater. You can't sit down there as a journalist, ask questions, I will answer you. You made a statement now to millions of Nigerians this morning saying my candidate was rushed off stage. How can you say that? After the event in Mina that day, he went on to commission different projects in Mina on that same day. Show me the clip where he collapsed, where they held him, where they took him. How can you, a television station, make such a statement? It is very, very unfortunate, and I'm saying it's wrong.
All right.
And I would demand an apology for that, because there was no such incident that happened. You talk about slip of tongue and gaps and all of that, train of thought. Atiku just said in Katsina, what's it called, in Kogi, 2 days ago. He said that they should vote for the APC.
Okay.
Peter Obi went to Nasarawa, he was calling Nasarawa a country. No, hold on, let me finish. You said something. He went to Nasarawa, he was calling Nasarawa a country. Peter Obi? And so many other things like this. So in terms of the tiredness of the campaign trail, whether it's your young candidates or old candidates, when you stomp from place to place every day, once in a while, you will make these little gaps here and there, little slip of tongue. It happens even in the most civilized world. So please, I want to let you know that I will not even go back to that issue again, because we are restricting the issue of health in order to stick it to Nigerians and make a lie be the truth. I will not answer questions on that again. It is not true. It is just not true.
All right, thank you very much. So let's move on to other issues now. Let's look at the campaign as it is going. We had Senator Dr. Bukola Saraki earlier today, and I will ask you the same question. What is the path to success in this forthcoming election for the APC? And here is what the pundits and the political analysts are saying. Some have said clearly that you are not likely to find a situation in Nigeria where two candidates, presidential candidates, have come from the South and any of them has won. You can debate that from now till eternity. And also that Ashwaju may not be able to get the Southeast, may not be guaranteed to get the South-South because of the vice presidential candidate, and then may not be able to get the Northeast and will struggle in the Northwest. So he leaves maybe the Southwest and the North Central. What is your own permutations that will help us understand your path to success for this forthcoming election?
Thank you very much. Just give me time to answer this, and let me let you know that there is no way, there's no path to get the numbers for the other candidates. It's only Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu that has a clear path to victory. let me make a profound statement before I begin to go down to the analysis. The profound statement I want to make is that in a democracy like ours, where you don't have a united opposition against a strong ruling party with big numbers of governors and legislators and structures, if you don't have a united opposition against the ruling party, you stand no chance at all. And that is the situation we find ourselves now, with a scattered opposition, with Labour Party, PDP, and the NMPP. There's absolutely no chance for any of them to gather the numbers to beat the ruling party. Let me go to the analysis, for you. I listened a bit to Bukola Saraki before I left home, and I couldn't finish the interview. But I heard a few of his permutations. You kept asking him, what is the pathway? And he could not answer you. He could not come down to the nitty-gritties. He was saying, we will do well in the North, we will do well there, we'll do well here, and there and there. But then, I will come down to the numbers for you. Nigeria is not dropping from the sky today. There was a 2019 election. And so the right way to begin to look at 2023 is to look at the 2019 election and begin to say what has changed between 2019 and now. In 2019, despite the fact that Atiku Abubakar is from the Northeast, I want you to listen to this. Despite the fact that Atiku Abubakar is from the Northeast, and there was no candidate, either presidential or vice presidential candidate from the Northeast to drag that place with him, to argue, to go head to head with him. There was no candidate from there. Yet, he lost 4 of the 6 Northeast states, Atiku Abubakar. That is how much the Northeast the people of the Northeast don't reckon with him. There was no candidate, take note. No rival candidate from that zone at that time. Now we have the vice presidential candidate, Shettima, from the Northeast to give him that problem. Now, even the Shettima, who is from Borno State, from the Northeast, who was not on the ballot in 2019, despite that, guess what? And this will surprise you. Atiku could not even get 10% of the votes, not 25, 10% of the votes in Borno State in 2019. In Yobe State, he could not get 10% of the vote, not 25, not 15. He could not get, that is his own. He could not get 10. How can somebody perform so poorly in his zone? So out of 6 states of the Northeast in 2019, Atiku won only 2, which is Adamawa and Taraba. And even in those 2, Kayode, Anayo, we went head to head with him. In Adamawa, it was head to head, 48 to 52 or thereabout, and the same thing with Taraba. We went head to head with him, even in those 2 states that he won in the Northeast. Now, come to the Northwest. Now, I want to let you know, Bukola Saraki said, well, that they are traditional PDP states. He talked about rivers, he talked about South, and and all that. So for them, it is easy for them to say traditional states belonging to certain parties, they do not change overnight. But in our own case, they expect it to change overnight. What kind of argument is that? So for them, fortune will smile on them. For us, fortune will not smile on us because they have traditional states. But in our own traditional states, there will be a flip overnight. What kind of logic is that? So we must go by his own logic where you say you have traditional states that are always loyal to a party. For instance, in Yobe and Borno states, PDP has never won those states. I think it's only Borno they did 4 years or so. But it has always been traditional anti-PDP states. That's why they don't get 10% at all in those states. So demography is not going to change in 4 years. Even if there are going to be improvement, like he said, that even they are going to have challenges in some states, it's going to be marginal. So even if we have marginal challenges in those states, if there's some movement at all, do you expect the movement to be from 10% or less than 10% that Atiku had in 2019? Do you expect that movement to move from 8% to 70% overnight? It's not going to happen because the same people that are there. So that's from the Northeast. From the Northwest, Atiku did not win 1 state in the Northwest. 1, he did not win. Now, what has changed in the Northwest between 2019 and 20 now? Nothing has changed for us. But what has changed for the PDP, in terms of the big factor in the Northwest, Kwankwanso has left. Kwankwanso was part of that component of the PDP in 2019 in the Northwest. So for them, they have despite the fact that they did not win 1 state, That's why the fact that we beat them with big numbers in Katsina, nearly 1 million votes. In Kano, nearly 1 million votes. So look at the numbers by which we beat them in 2019. I want you to look at those numbers in the Northwest. They were big numbers. It was only, we get them about 1 million votes in Katsina, 1 million votes in Kano, about that. There are about 400,000 votes in Kebbi, in Kaduna, in Zamfara, about 400,000, about 300,000 plus, and some change. And Sokoto, of course, Sokoto has been marginal, but it was still big numbers.
Okay.
So in the Northwest, we beat them hands down.
Permit me to just very quickly, please permit me, Festus, to just very quickly interject.
Okay.
Now, the candidates on the ballot in those elections you're referring to happen to be the then President Muhammadu Buhari, who is from that region, who has been declared a phenomenon over the last 20 years, contesting at various elections and winning 10 to 12 million, even when he did not manage to win generally across the entire country. So if you have an Atiku contesting against somebody who is phenomenal in the north, central, northwest, northeast, north central, if you have someone like that, then you will expect that kind of number. But let's look at today. The candidate is not Buhari anymore. So that will create a possible shift, according to pundits, not my words. According to pundits and political analysts, that will create a change.
So let me ask you a rhetoric question, two rhetoric questions. Where is that candidate, that phenomenal candidate you talked about? Where does he stand today, and who is he campaigning for? That's a rhetorical question. So you mean, for instance, that you call him a phenomenal candidate with following, all kinds of diehard following. So those diehard followers now will listen to him now, raising the hand of Asiwaju and telling them that this is my man. If you want to make me happy in retirement, vote for him. You think 70% of those diehard followers will not listen to him if you call him phenomenal? So that's why I said that I made the point that even if there's a shift, will it be a shift from 10% to 80%? It can't be. It's going to be marginal shift.
But
and I thought they said that we rigged the 2019 election. So all of a sudden, hold on. You see, you're not allowing me to flow. I need to flow with this analysis.
Flow with your analysis, but I just wanted to very quickly.
Bukola Saraki could not give you, hold on. Bukola Saraki could not give you this breakdown. I am giving you this breakdown. I'm giving you, and none of them can come here and give you this breakdown. The only thing they rely upon is what you have just said. Oh, betrayal. There's going to be betrayal. The North is not a monolithic North. That is why they did not vote for Atiku Abubakar. That's why they have never voted for him. It's not monolithic because they have their brain. They know who to vote for. They know the issues at stake. And so they know where to stand. The North is APC. They said they have the Southeast or South-South as PDP. And so they said those are traditional PDP zones. So you have a traditional zone. We don't have a traditional zone. The North is APC. It's as simple as that. So I was talking about the Northwest. The Northwest you are talking today, we have an added factor called a Buhari. They have a minus factor called a Kwankwanso that left them. So the figures you are talking about in Northwest, I was talking about even the second rhetoric question. Now, those structures that delivered Buhari in 2019, there were structures. There were people at the grassroots level, governors, legislators, the people they call the Buharists, and the people, the Buhari support organization that have been there since 2003. They are still with Asiwaju. There's no break in our ranks. There's no 5 governors revolting. There's nothing like that. So if you are going to have a marginal shift in the Northwest, you are not going to have a thunderous marginal shift. You are not going to have an Armageddon. No, you're not going to have it. It's going to be a shift maybe from 10 to 20%, and you are still going to have the numbers there for us. So that is for the Northwest and Northeast. There is no path to victory for Atiku for Northwest and Northeast. In the North Central, we lost only 2 states in 2019. I have these figures at my finger. I was the returning officer to Mr. President in 2019 at the International Conference Center. We lost only Benue and we lost Plateau. in the North Central. Well, if you want to add Abuja as North Central, then we lost Abuja too. But we won Kogi, we won Niger convincingly, we won Kwara convincingly in the North Central in 2019, and we won Nasarawa marginally. Because we had always not lost Nasarawa before 2019. 2015 we lost Nasarawa, but we gained in 2019, we won Nasarawa in 2019. So we have 4 states in this North Central. Now in the North Central, is there going to be a very, is there a factor that has crept into the North Central? Yes, Peter Obi has crept into the North Central. So I want to be honest in this analysis. Peter Obi has crept into the North Central, not as much as the Northeast, but he has made a small inroad, not inroads to make a big impact. But even the inroad he has made into the North Central, it is the PDP votes is eating into in the North Central, even the North Central that they lost. Why? Because they are traditional, Christian votes. He has appealed to those sentiments because the type of campaign he has been campaigning. So it's even those votes in the North Central that appeal more to PDP that he has eaten into in the North Central. So in the North Central, we expect to keep our traditional states in the North Central. If we even lose a state, maybe 3 states to 3, but we won 4 the other time. But you don't expect us to lose more than, far more than, we did in 2019. So even if we take it 3-3, the North Central, the other 3 states remain in North Central are not going to go to PDP. They are going to be divided between PDP and Labour Party. The other 3 in the North Central. That puts us in poor position. And then, of course, the Southwest. Everybody has considered, I don't need to analyze the Southwest because Bukola Saraki came here, he considered the Southwest. People like Ayofa Yoshe, they have all considered the Southwest. People like even traditional people like Bode George and the traditional PDP people, they consider the Southwest. They say they don't know how they will get into the Southwest. That is because even without our candidates being on the ballot, we lost only 2 states by some problems in those states in the Southwest in 2019. We lost Ondo, we lost Oyo marginally in the Southwest in 2019. Now, South, and Southeast have not been our states before. We had challenges. But don't forget that even though we had challenges in the South, and Southeast, between 2015 and 2019, go and look at the results. We made huge progress. We did not win, but we made huge progress. We lost the 25% votes that we did not get in 3 states were from those regions in 2019. And that is Anambra, Enugu, and Rivers State that we did not get. Now, what is even happening to those states now that we did not get 25% in 2019? What's happening? In Rivers State, you see the rebellion there. Going there for PDP. In Enugu State, you see the rebellion going for PDP there.
Right.
But those are parts of the G5 governors.
Mr. Keyamo,
so we have the APC is in poor position.
Yes.
APC is in poor position.
Mr. Keyamo,
to
we have
win
to interrupt
the 2020 election. There's no contest.
We have a limited time with you and want you to just speak to a few things before you go. In fact, I think this might be the second to the last question. And this is, when you were here the last time, we had asked you a question around the president being on the campaign trail with your presidential candidate. And good news, he's now going, he's been to Adamawa State as his first stop and then gone to Yobe State. Now, it's a statement he made in Yobe State I'd like you to respond to. He had mentioned that your presidential candidate, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, will build on his legacies for rebuilding Nigeria. And this brought to mind questions for a number of Nigerians as to which of his legacies would Asiwaju be building on. We reviewed the economy. It has been said, and days after, Asiwaju had said that the economy was in a dire state. Well, the next president will potentially be inheriting a 77 trillion naira debt. We have a double inflation at the moment, the highest since 1999. We look at the security architecture of the country, nothing to write home about. So the big question is, what legacies or what was the president referring to that Asiwaju would build on?
Well, first of all, to correct you, as journalists, you do your research very well before you come on air. This is not the highest inflation rate. In 2005, under Obasanjo article, we had a 28% inflation rate in 2005. Go and fact check me. So that is not the highest. Under Obasanjo and article, we had the highest ever so far in 1999. But let me come straight to your question. Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu, we build on a legacy of infrastructural development. That is what, you can see what we have done in 7.5 years. It has eclipsed and surpassed what they did in 16 years of PDP. And let me tell you, that Obasanjo article regime you are talking about, it has collapsed now with all the boasts they were boasting about that tenure. That tenure is now known as the SPV years. With the revelations coming out, with the putrid and smelly revelations coming out now about the criminal enterprise that Obasanjo and Atiku ran at that time, where they were using shell companies to dupe Nigerians and pilfer money from the public coffers. No matter how the press plays the ostrich on this matter, because I've not spoken since, I now want to speak. No matter how the press plays the ostrich on this matter, it is not going to die, because today I have decided to take up that matter, where you have evidence of emails, voice notes, documents where a vice president and president opened companies between 2019 and 2007. One was called, one company like that, where they were using the companies to take monies out of the treasury to fund the PDP and fund their private businesses and their families. I have this morning written to 3 law enforcement agencies, and I'm asking for full investigation. If they don't, I am going to court. Even as a sitting cabinet member, I am going to court. This morning, I have written to them, and I'm going to make it public later today, that you cannot have a vice president who abused his office when he was in office, who opened shell companies by his own admission, put his cronies and allies there, and the press, they are playing. There's a conspiratorial silence on this matter. Nobody is talking about it, and they want it to go away, and he's not apologizing to Nigerian people and withdrawing from the race, and that is what you want to campaign with, and you want to use that tenure to compare the tenure of President Buhari. It's over. It's over.
Unfortunately, we don't have enough time.
He cannot survive this. It's over for him.
We will speak about this in subsequent meetings, because you didn't actually respond to the
when it's Asiwaju's drug issue, the press feasted on it. When it's Asiwaju's drug issue, the press feasted on it, and we are there to defend it. Now we are calling on the press to be non-partisan to talk about this issue. It's about the national treasury. It's about the national treasury, and we're not going to allow it to die.
Well, Arise News will definitely make its investigation, and we will not be depending on what one individual who is a party member is saying. We'll do our investigation.
There are court documents. There are court documents.
Thank you, Mr. Keyamo.
Publish the court documents.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keyamo, for your time. Mr. Festus Keyamo, spokesperson for the Tinubu Shetima Campaign Council. Thank you for your time. It's time now for a short break. When we return, Ojiokwe will be here with details on what's trending. Stay with us.
As you adjust to the new realities for operating your business and engaging with your customers, let us help you transform your business into a digital powerhouse capable of adapting and taking advantage of today's opportunities. With our best-in-class array of digital solutions, you can conduct your business, receive payments from your customers, and perform transactions quickly, safely, and conveniently, because we've got you covered with the right people, technology, and service offerings. Contact us today and let us take your business to its zenith. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
Yesterday I got a call from Globe. I won a 3-bedroom bungalow.
Yes, guys! Guess what? I won a car. I won a generator by participating in the Festival of Joy promo by Glow.
Hey, Glow don't do this one for me. Glow to make it to me with sewing machine.
I won generator last year. This year I won for
It's a celebration like no other, with prizes like no other. 20 new houses to be won. 24 brand new cars. 200 sewing machines, 100 generators, 1,000 rechargeable fans. Glow Festival of Joy promo. Dial *611# now.
Papa, mama, brother, sister. This Lagos must work for all of us. Everybody down Fueko.
Oh yes, Lagos people. Papa, mama, sister, brother, auntie, plus including uncle them. Better don't land for Lagos State gidigba. Money will be for Lagos State, then go use them for Lagos State. Wella, no more Baba Sope. Then no go chop Lagos State money. Nobody go pocket Lagos State. Then go take and build Lagos State, build road, build hospital, build houses, and now only one man fit do this job. His name na Abdulaziz Olajide Adediran Jandor. He can't carry one ogbonge person as a deputy governor. Her name na Funke Akindele Jennifer. My people, what do we wait for? Make we vote for light, vote for change. No be the kind change where they vote before. This one na the original change. How Amumu don't do? Pay they pay.
Everybody down Fueko.
Imagine your wallet can be everything. Well, almost everything your bank is to you. That's exactly what First Money Wallet is. First Money Wallet from First Bank is another swift and seamless way to bank from your mobile phone. It doesn't matter if you have a First Bank account or not, nor the mobile network you use. Everyone can open a First Money Wallet, and it's very easy. Your phone number is your account number. With First Money Wallet, you can send money using just a phone number, receive money, pay bills, buy airtime and data for yourself or someone else, any check balance. You don't need a bank account at all or BVN to enjoy the boundless possibilities First Money Wallet offers. All you need is a registered phone number, and you can fund your wallet easily through your First Bank account or any bank account and debit card. What's more, First Money Wallet is highly secure with fingerprint technology and PIN. And when you need cash, just walk up to any First Money agent near you to withdraw money. No smartphone, no wahala. Just dial *894*1# on any phone. So, it doesn't matter if you live in the city or the remotest part of the country. With First Money Wallet, your transactions are easy, seamless, and secure. Download the First Money Wallet app now. Input your phone number and follow the prompts, or simply dial *894*1#. All money now on First Money. You first. First Bank.
As a player, there's nothing better than the roar of your crowd. But in Nigeria, there's a roar that may not be heard again. With fewer than 50 lions left, they could be extinct in the next few years. From loss of habitat and prey, and snares set for illegal bushmeat. So please, say no to illegal bushmeat. Let's keep the roar alive for Nigeria. Because poaching steals from us all.
Yes, welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now is Oji Okwe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Oji.
Good morning, Kayode. Welcome to the morning show.
Great to be here.
Great. I've been watching you. Doing well.
Yes.
You're doing well. Good morning, Ayo.
Good morning, Oji. Good to see you.
You too.
You always brighten up the room.
Yeah. Why not?
Great
But you guys
energy.
had a really engaging conversation with Mr. Kayamo there. I thought it was fun.
We need a part two. Because of our time, we couldn't go in deeper, but definitely it would be great to engage
absolutely,
you further.
absolutely. I hope you both had a great weekend. Well, all right. Good morning to you viewers. Here are some of the stories that are trending across the globe.
In the United Kingdom, Sonia Ekweremadu, daughter of Nigeria's former Deputy Senate President, Ike Ekweremadu, pled not guilty over the weekend to charges of organ harvesting levied against her. The 25-year-old also denied trafficking a young man, David Nwamini, into the United Kingdom. Sonia was charged alongside her father and her mother, Beatrice, with conspiracy to arrange the travel of another person with a view to exploitation. In Nepal, a plane carrying 68 passengers and 4 crew members crashed in the city of Pokhara on Sunday while trying to land. The passengers were killed aboard the Yeti Airlines, a roughly 30-minute flight from the capital, Kathmandu, to Pokhara, a picturesque vacation destination near the Annapurna Mountains. Videos on social media showed the plane engulfed by flames and black plumes of smoke at the crash site, where emergency responders were seen trying to retrieve victims. In Nigeria, fallen heroes were honored in different parts of the country on Sunday in commemoration of the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. The annual celebration, which holds January 15, features parade by armed forces across the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory and the laying of wreaths. In Abuja, President Muhammadu Buhari presided over what would be his last ceremony as Commander-in-Chief of the country's armed forces at the Eagle Square, accompanied by Vice President Yemi Osibajo, Senate President Ahmed Lawan, Speaker of the House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila, and other dignitaries. Under sports, Nigerian heavyweight boxer F.A. Ajagba over the weekend defeated his American opponent Stephen Shaw in a heavyweight main event fight at the Turning Stone Resort Casino in Verona, New York. The 28-year-old knockout specialist dominated the fight throughout the 10 rounds of the hard-hitting bout. Stephen Shaw had been undefeated in his heavyweight career until he faced Ajagba, who came into limelight at the 2016 Olympics in Rio de Janeiro. The victory takes the All-Africa Games gold medalist's record to 7-1. His only loss was against Cuba's Frank Sanchez in the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder undercard in 2021 at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Finally, under entertainment, United States' Arabani Gabriel was crowned over the weekend winner of the Miss Universe 2023 pageant out of a total of 83 women from around the world who competed for the crown. The pageant was hosted by actress Janine Mai Jenkins, Venezuela's Amanda Dudamel, and Curaçao's Gabriela dos Santos finished as first and second runner-ups, respectively. The 28-year-old newly crowned Miss Universe was presented the crown by Hannah Sandhu, former Miss Universe 2021 from India.
The new Miss Universe is USA! Universe!
Well, congratulations to Miss Gabriel, the new Miss Universe. We go live to Eko Hotel, Victoria Island, Lagos, where the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, is set to commence the 2022 Deep Offshore Mini Bid Round.
Good morning, everyone. The MC has wished us all a happy New Year, and I can only stand here to adopt that. And also, we have seen the efficacy of women. I've always believed that one day that women will rule this country. Yeah. So thank you, AC Rose, for that beautiful welcome address. The Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, here represented by the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Petroleum, our brother, Ambassador Aduda, Your Excellencies, there is governors here represented. I can see the representative of Plateau Governor, my brother, Mr. Awatai. We're together marketing crew today. You can see what goes around comes around. So now we are marketing deep offshore blocks. Captains of industry here present. Top management members of the NUPRC, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, prospective investors, members of the diplomatic community, and the gentlemen of the press. I'd like to welcome you all. This is a major roadshow for the deep offshore block that we are marketing on behalf of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It is indeed my pleasure and honor to warmly welcome you all to the pre-bid conference following the announcement of the 2022-2023 mini bid round exercise of the 22nd of December 2022. The theme of today's event is Growing Upstream Investment in Nigeria Through Licensing Round. The bid process and opportunities. The importance of this event cannot be overemphasized. Truly, its significance is evident by the large and diverse attendance of stakeholders and invitees from different walks of life here present. Ladies and gentlemen, before proceeding further, permit me to swiftly pay glowing tribute to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, for the passage of the Petroleum Industry Act, thereby laying a solid foundation for total transformation of the Nigeria oil and gas industry. Besides, the timely approval of the mini-bid exercise by Mr. President as the Honorable Minister of Petroleum Resources is a strong commitment to increase the national oil and gas reserves and production for enhanced federation revenue. It is also highly remarkable that the approval of the exercise by Mr. President as the Honorable Minister of Petroleum Resources is the first in the last 15 years, thereby adding to the plethora of achievements of this administration. In a similar vein, let me quickly acknowledge the overwhelming support and guidance of the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief Timi Silva, enjoyed by the Commission that has made today's event possible. In compliance with the provisions of the Petroleum Industry Act 2021 and regulations made pursuant thereto, the Commission has issued a licensing round guideline and published a licensing round plan for a total of 7 deep offshore open blocks. That is PPL 300, PPL 301, PPL 302, PPL 303, PPL 304, PPL 305, and PPL 306. These 7 deep offshore blocks, covering an area of approximately 6,700 kilometers in water depths of 1,150 to 3,100 meters, are on offer in this mini bid round, but are intended to be the first in a series of bid rounds aimed at further development of our prospective petroleum basins. The bid rounds are within the context of our enhanced legal and regulatory frameworks as enshrined in Section 73 of the PI 2021 that seeks to encourage new investors and investments into the next phase of oil and gas exploration in Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, let me profoundly express that this pre-bid conference is a clarion call to technically and financially capable local and foreign investors to invest and take advantage of the generous regulatory and fiscal regimes in the upstream petroleum sector. In Nigeria, the mini bid round is a market-driven program expected to outperform the last bid round, which held in April 2007, during which a total of 45 blocks were put on offer under a different regulatory regime, the Petroleum Act of 1969. In line with the provisions of the PIA, the mini bid round will be managed by the NUPRC with its support by its National Data Repository and multi-client partners, underpinned by high-quality data sets. The blocks on offer have extensive 2D and 3D seismic data coverage, including multi-beam and analog data. Additionally, a 3D Mega Survey Plus reprocessed pre-stack time migration of remarkable quality is also available to prospective bidders. Links to all data and information, including the guidelines for the award and operations of the petroleum prospecting licenses in deep offshore Nigeria, along other further information that provides details regarding the blocks on offer and the procedural stages of the bid process, can be accessed via the dedicated NUPRC portal, br.nuprc.gov.ng. The exercise is scheduled to last for approximately 4 months along the following processes. The exercise is scheduled to last for 4 months along the processes: 1, registration and pre-qualification; data prime through purchase; technical bid submission and presentation; technical bid evaluation; and commercial bid conference. As part of the bid process, we have announced the commencement and launched the bid round portal, which was officially opened on 3rd of January 2023. We have also provided an official email address, phone numbers, and dedicated support line to guide applicants through the licensing round process. Distinguished stakeholders, ladies and gentlemen, please be rest assured that the entire bid process, pursuant to the provisions of the PIA 2021 and attendant regulations, will be fair, transparent, and competitive in line with best practices. Furthermore, the mini-bid exercise has been designed to attract competent investors from across the world, both local and foreign, that have the capability and competence in operating in deep water environment. However, all awardees must be duly registered in Nigeria under the Companies and Allied Matters Act. Applicants may participate either as an individual company or as a consortium. Distinguished stakeholders, ladies and gentlemen, the mini bid round is indeed expected to be a huge success, for Nigeria and is a big step towards growing the nation's oil and gas reserves through aggressive exploration and development efforts. Boosting production, expanding opportunities for gas utilization and development, strengthening energy security and economy. Providing the opportunity to gainfully engage the proof of competent companies in the oil and gas sector for resulting employment opportunities. Enabling transfer of technology, valorizing petroleum assets in the Nigerian territory, and attracting investments. In addition, the mini bid round presents us with the opportunity to reinforce Nigeria's commitment to openness and transparency in line with the principles of the Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative. On the global scale, the licensing round will no doubt be gainful to all stakeholders and will, in the long run, contribute to long-term global energy efficiency. Interestingly, the licensing round process was formulated in cognizance of global sustainability goals. The process will, in addition to technical and commercial considerations, pay the requisite attention to strategies, processes, and implementable plans consistent with net zero carbon emission targets, eliminating gas flares, as well as overall environmental, social, and governance considerations. The oil and gas industry in Nigeria has embraced the reality of energy transition and is taking strategic position to leverage on the opportunities presented by the unfolding era. As a regulatory commission, we have taken deliberate steps in this regard, including the recent issuance of guidelines for management of fugitive methane and greenhouse emissions in the upstream oil and gas operations in Nigeria during the COP27 in Egypt in a manner that attracted international commendation for Nigeria. However, it is worthy to recognize that recent events around the globe indicate that fossil fuels will continue to be a core part of the global energy mix into the future, even beyond the 2050 targets for achieving net zero carbon emissions that has been set by most countries. The recent increase in the price of energy, mostly occasioned by the conflict between Russia and Ukraine and the ensuing energy disruption, have reawakened the call for geopolitical energy security and sustainability. I want to conclude this keynote address by re-inviting investors from across the world with capability and experience in operating in deep water environment to embrace the generous fiscal provisions of the PIA and join us in this journey of energy sustainability aimed at developing our oil and gas resources as cleanly as possible. It will interest you to note that the Commission has established a committee to collaborate with the world-renowned energy consultants, Wood Mackenzie, to ensure that the Nigerian Petroleum upstream regulations are in line with international best practices, which will form the basis for regulating the awardees of the 7 deep offshore blocks offered in the 2022-2023 mini bid round exercise. Once more, I must thank all participants for finding time to attend the pre-bid conference. The joint team from the Commission and the multi-client data companies will, in subsequent sessions in this pre-bid conference today, provide robust clarification on all your inquiries regarding the bid exercise. I thank you all for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Gbenga Komolafe, FNSE Commission Chief Executive, Nigeria Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, walking us through just a little bit of an intro of what this whole exercise is about, when it started, what duration it will take, what is expected of those who are coming to tender these bids, and ultimately leaving with a commitment that they are committed to ensuring that the regulation is done based on international best practice, for which they have received commendations and recognitions. Can you please give him one more round of applause? Thank you very much, sir. He also reiterated that we will be listening to the Commission's subject matter experts and the multi-client partners experts as well. They will take turns to address different aspects of the bid. Now, once they're done addressing the different aspects of the bid, I will come back up, set up a few chairs here, and invite a moderator who will then come and moderate what it will be at the time a question from the moderator to them. It will not be time for your own interaction. Now, remember again, after